Hello, and welcome to episode 204 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the sous chef, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
Yes, chef.
On this week's episode, we've got we have Mando Season 3 trailer to discuss, but as far as my auto-corrected notes, we have Mandu Season 3 to discuss. Mandu Season 3. Titanic mystery solved, finally, after all these years. Ted Lasso Season 3 first look, all before diving into our flick of the week, the menu. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking Treehouse Mega Treat, which they should have come up with a better name because I keep wanting to say Treehouse Mega Tree because It just feels like that's how it should flow.
Yeah. You got me.
That being said, it's Mega Treat. It's a hugely hopped rendition of Super Treat, building upon the base of Super Treat with a substantially larger malt bill, and a sweeter base beer. Mega Treat is ideally suited to absorb a big hop onslaught. In spite of this, it drinks like the most outstanding juicy hop beverage that you can imagine. Candied orange, candied mango, and a blend of tropical starburst flavors blast out of the can upon opening this beer. With love, THBC.
There's a lot to be excited about. In that, I'm hoping that it lives up to expectations. Props to you for being able to read the can. The lighting in my office is so horrible.
It's not great in mine either, and they could have given us a blank space on this label where they did it, but instead it's across wavy lines, some of which are shiny and some of which are not, and that it was actually a struggle. Treehouse Double IPA, 1 pint, alcohol 8.7% by volume, brewed in Charlton, Massachusetts, or is it Charlton?
Charlton. The label is also embossed.
Yes.
What's that about?
I don't know.
The extra, somebody who knows about like different classes of paper is like, oh my.
Can you please send me your finest cardstock aficionados?
All right, now help me out here. We've got I Love Brew. These are little candy hearts. You know those horrible candy hearts that you get? That's what these are.
From Necco.
Yeah, so we have I like the Be Mine one that has it's actually Beer Mine, but the ER is in parentheses.
Heart THBC.
In perp?
Yeah, I don't know. Like in perpetuity, I guess. But
I guess, but like what's the beer pun?
I don't know, actually.
Huh. Only brew. Cool. I'm looking forward to this. I always like Treehouse beers. This is one of the ones that Frank tends to stop by and give me a whole bunch from. So, hi Frank. But that is so clearly a Tootsie Pop, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Which is a little odd. Also, it's either a Tootsie Pop having an acid trip, or this is the Necromancer revealing itself to be Lord Sauron in one of the Hobbit movies, or it's that scene in Annihilation that feels like it's half an hour long that's actually only about 2.5 minutes long.
Yeah, I think it's that. That I could definitely see that, because when I look at this can, I hear it's just like it's all over the place. Let's give this one a taste, shall we? Cheers. Whoa.
Hang on
a second.
What?
That is that might as well be a cappuccino. Look at the Can you see the head on this beer on mine?
Yeah, yours has a lot more head to it.
What is going on?
I poured mine to like the very top of the no, but even you had much more head retention in yours.
And it's bouncy.
Mine's
it's not going anywhere anytime soon. All right.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
There you go.
It does, you can sip all you want. I'm just going to smell it for now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The head is so good on that beer that you're drinking that you had a milk mustache of, of hop foam.
It's called the Belgian dip. Man, that is... That's delightful. And you know what's funny? I can confirm on the label that is a Tootsie Pop, because this tastes like an orange Tootsie Pop.
Okay, I guess I could see that. The recall is not there for me because that's typically a flavor I've probably avoided. I will go for the cherry or the raspberry.
I'm with you.
Or
I'm with you on avoiding the orange.
chocolate.
However, I will take orange Tootsie Pop over no Tootsie Pop any day.
Well, the only one I want to really actively avoid is the grape one because I just don't do fake grape flavor very well.
Yeah. What is fake grape flavor? Because it's not grape.
It's definitely not. Just like, well, but most of the fruit flavors for most of our lives didn't really reflect the flavor. Like, the only ones that ever came close typically was like lemon flavored things.
That's true. I guess, yeah, that's fair. All the other flavors are whatever. Like when it's cherry flavored thing, you're thinking like cherry candy flavored thing, not an actual cherry.
Same thing with grape. Like, I love grapes. Yeah. I hate grape flavored things. I love cherries. Cherry flavored things are fine, but they don't taste like cherries.
No, they don't. They don't. I do like grape flavored things, but I'm not about to pretend that they taste like grapes.
So
watermelon is the only one that is like, it does taste like watermelon. However, it's like they took the very subtle, like the really sweet part, like that underlying tone that's in the actual watermelon, and they just dialed that shit up, like all the way, like too far.
That's the thing,
is like concentrated it.
A lot of the watermelon flavor is pretty subtle, like, and it's like watermelon flavored things can be like overpowering. It's like doing too much.
I'm just picturing Kylo Ren more as they're injecting the flavor into whatever it is.
So would you say that in spite of this, it drinks like the most outstanding juicy hot beverage that you can imagine?
I think that I have to knock I have to knock a thuckle off just because they're a little bit too confident in their description there.
Ooh, I found the perfect angle where I can actually read this properly. I had to like turn it with a weird oblique
turn it
angle.
Just slightly. You actually have to read it through a prism.
Well, before and during when I was reading it, I don't know if you saw, I was manipulating the can to try and get the best, and I finally found a weird angle that works for it.
You're shining a light on it that's reflecting the words on the wall. It's like very Nicolas Cage in National Treasure.
Well, I was going to say not to evoke the Lord of the Rings again, but I'm thinking when he takes the ring out of the fire and you can see the script projected on the wall when it first when he first puts it in the fireplace and he takes it out, and you first see the script pop up when Gandalf thinks for half a second that maybe it's not the One Ring.
Yeah. So Gandalf's still hoping that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Fuck.
Basically. So it did follow up. I didn't really process all of this because I was just trying to get through it. Candied orange, candied mango, and a blend of tropical starburst flavors. Blasted out of this can.
I don't get...
Fugitive's blasted out of Mos Eisley Spaceport. Sorry. When I hear blasted out of something, that's what I think of.
I don't get the mango so much. I do get the other flavors.
I definitely orange is more prominent. I wouldn't have picked the mango out if you had just given it to me blind. But now that I'm looking for it, I do detect it lingering in the background.
I feel like if I do taste it, I'm tasting like an unripened mango.
It's lurking in the back in the way that, say, maybe when an out of focus old lady's hands twitch on screen of The Last of Us.
So you watched it.
I did. I watched that. We'll talk about it later.
On that soon. Yeah. No, this is good. I'm going to go, I think, I'm torn between Dos and Tres Thuckles. I don't know where to land on this one. Where are you at?
That's surprising. I was going to go between 3 and 4 Thuckles.
3 and 4? All right. I'm gonna go 3 then.
You want to meet at the middle in 3?
Mm-hmm. It's not, like, to me, it's not a 4. It's not, it's missing something. I don't know what it is. Like, there's a certain drinkability. I mean, it's very drinkable, don't get me wrong, but, like, there's, like, this is it for me, right? It's just going to be this one. I wouldn't, even if I had 2, I wouldn't have the second one after this. That's fine, too. You don't have to, that's not going to necessarily make it a 4 Thuckle. It's just, there's something about it where I'm like, it's good. It's very good.
Part of it's probably the alcohol content for you, would be my guess.
Yeah, that could be it.
Because you do also detect that lingering in the background.
Yeah. I could see that.
Also, it has, even though there's not any fruit juice in there, maybe it's just so evocative of the orange and mango that it feels like I'm drinking something acidic.
I'm with you on that too. I get that.
Like that kind of after effect that you get after you drink orange juice.
Yeah, almost like the astringency coming after too. It's odd because like it's got that juiciness. It definitely has that, but it's also not. It's like weirdly like it seems like it's about to be very juicy and sweet, but then it's not. It's more bitter. I'm okay with that.
I think it's a good balance. I think it's got good balance on that. Because it definitely starts sweet and like kind of bitters out on like the after, like as it lingers on your palate. But that kind of balance of power transfer type of thing, I think I kind of like for this.
Yeah, and I'm down with that. I appreciate that style. Like, it's not like my number one type of style, so I think that's what kind of prevents it from being a 4-thuckle for me. But like the 2 and 3 was I was going back and forth between like some of the notes that I'm not loving, but at the same time the more I'm drinking it, the more I'm appreciating it. So like I think 3 is right. 3 thuckles feels appropriate.
It's funny. I had the opposite experience. You liked it but didn't love it, but now it's growing on you. Me, whereas like the first sip or two, I was like, wow, this is fantastic. And now I'm like, as it's kind of settling in, I'm like, this is really good, but maybe we got a little too over our skis to begin with.
There's still something that seems weird to me. Like, I don't know if it's like, I feel like the body doesn't quite match the rest of the flavor, and like that's throwing me off too.
Well, I think that probably goes to, they said about it being super sweet, like they upped the malt bill for this one to balance out the extra bittering that they were doing.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna hover around 3 and 4 thuckles with Treehouse. So like, I mean, it's better. It's still better than most beer. Like, I would even throw it out there. You know what I mean? But good stuff. Good. Thank you for bringing this one. I will say, if freshness is, which they're always about the enjoy fresh. This is old.
It is.
So that's
it wasn't that old when I gave it to you, though.
No. I know that, but it also could be on us. So I will also caveat that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a 3-thuckle asterisk.
Listen, if it's like on the fringe of 4, like I don't know how much like additional freshness was gonna. That person.
I think it's so funny because like their beers are like, and so there's so many are like, keep cold, drink fresh. Like it's like these are the rules. Like keep it cold, don't fuck this up, drink it fresh. Whereas like I went to this brewery, I don't even remember the name of it, in Baltimore. And the guy was like, they're conditioned. He's like, put it in the fridge, out of the fridge. It doesn't matter. Bring it home. Drink it 3 months later. It's going to be fine.
I think I mentioned this last week or the week before. I think a lot of that is overblown. There certain beers, especially it's the really delicate ones that matter. I mean, there is real objective truth to the fact that something that has a lot of dry hopping will lose that aroma the longer it sits around.
Sure.
Fair enough. But if your beer is not relying upon that, I don't know how essential it really is, honestly. And I think the temperature thing, that shock really only affects very delicate, like lager type beers or super light, like Pilsner type of beers. I don't think that really is going to affect. I mean, now, if you swing from 30 degrees to 90 degrees to 30 degrees to 90 degrees, I'm sure that'll have a negative effect. But if you bought it and it was stored at 40 degrees and then you put it in your garage in the winter and it was 50 degrees and then you put it in the fridge and it was 30 degrees, I really don't think that's going to do anything.
Those fluctuations aren't going to matter. I mean, if you go back to what you were saying though about like the dry hopping and the aromas though, like the scent on the nose, like the nose is a big part of it, right? It's a big part of any like alcohol drinking. Like there's a lot of flavor in that itself.
It is, but like that is not going. That's going to be much more stable for like a Belgian triple, like which is not relying on hoppiness. You're not going to dry hop it. You just won't.
Sure, that's a good point. So yeah, then I guess it's just circumstantial. Like, interesting. We should run some experiments. It sounds like a great experiment to be running. I mean, it's for science.
You're looking for more reasons to drink beer. Oh no!
I'm gonna have to drink all of these
for science.
Amazing. What do you say we get into some news and nuggets?
Sure.
Nothing too crazy going on here. We're gonna start off big though. We're gonna come out swinging. Mando season 3. Mandu season 3.
Would you say that we're starting bigger or smaller than Tubulous Chonk?
That was great. For the listeners, what was the quote? That meme you sent me.
So yeah, sorry, my phone's on the other side of the room, but it was Greg Wyshynski, who is like the lead hockey writer at ESPN, who's a huge nerd. He's gone on the Star Wars Minute podcast before, I think. and he posted a screenshot of, I'm pretty sure that was Paz Vizsla from the Mandalorian show, voiced by Jon Favreau. And it was, he wears obviously the heavy armor with it, like an old school like knight would have worn, like the heavy armor with he has like the minigun type of, and it was in the trailer as a still of him like coming out of the sky and about to land, holding the thing, and Greg said something along the lines of, if George Lucas was still in charge of of Star Wars, this character would have been named like Tubulus Chonk or something like that, and he would have become one of the most beloved characters in all of Star Wars. And he's 100% right.
He absolutely is, and the character would also only have max 15 seconds of screen time.
Yeah, there are like entire wiki pages devoted to Max Rebo and his jizz wearers. I mean, of course, a Mandalorian who looks like that is going to become like an instant classic.
I will say, people might be hung up on that scene from the trailer, but for me, it was that orange helmet when the whole bunch of them are coming out of whatever room or cave they're in. The orange Beskar helmet was so sick, and I was like, I will absolutely buy a replica of that and wear it.
Seeing this ragtag collection of Mandalorians who have previously been in hiding coming out, it was very reminiscent of all of the years of online like Halo play, where everyone is wearing a wildly different colored Spartan armor, especially like with like the most recent one where they have like the different variations of the armor that like you could customize and all that, and like you got this guy over there running around with like a classic Mark IV or whatever, but it's pink, and that guy has built like he's got, it looks like a samurai for some reason, but it's like more traditional in color, and then
and here comes neon cat ears. My favorite is with regards to Halo is each season they've been dropping new things that you can earn, like armor kits and whatnot, and there's also stuff that you could buy, but like in the last one I was just like scrolling through what you could unlock,
it's too many.
At some point, though, it's just knives on all of the pieces of armor. And if you put this whole set on, it's like knife on the chest, knife on the shoulder, knife on the leg, knife on the other. And it just looks you just look like a ball of knives.
Which is totally cosmetic, too, which is insane. Like, it's not like you can use those knives. If you could, that would be badass. I think I summed up that version of the Halo experience best when I was playing with you guys a few months ago. And I got the drop on someone, killed him, grabbed his gun, said, "Oh, he's got a little tag hanging from it. I must have killed someone important."
That's awesome. That game's fun. I haven't played it in a minute, but I would like to get back into it.
Yeah, I haven't played since last time I played with you, and that's been probably like a month and a half, 2 months, something like that.
Sure. Well, back to Mando Season 3. What did you get out of this trailer?
Guns. Lots of guns.
Lots of guns.
No, I just like honestly the biggest thing is like I think I said it to you. I think I might have said it to Mike. Hey Mike, this is the perfect type of trailer for this type of show.
Yep.
You get a bunch of fist pump moments and nothing at all about what the story is. Like nothing beyond what we already knew, which is they indicated it in his appearance in Book Boba Fett. He's going to try and restore his glory by restoring the glory of Mandalore.
Right.
That's what the show is going to be at this season, or at least that's the intent. That's what they're indicating that's what they're going to attempt. Whether he succeeds or not remains to be seen. And he basically says that in the trailer, and like that's it. It's just a bunch of people flying around in their fucking jetpacks, shooting, Grogu using the Force, people looking concerned, a little bit of narration. We get to see a moment of Coruscant.
Yeah,
it's a perfect type of trailer. I have no idea.
A sexy Star Wars sizzle reel.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's all I need. Yep, I agree. And also, honestly, the best thing about it, obviously, is and then it's like March. It's like deal with it. It's like, wow, love that. But it's like you said, like a bunch of Mandalorian armor, bunch of different colors. Then we have like you said, Grogu using the Force, but like with ears down, so you know it's serious. Mm-hmm. And then just a really, really fancy Carl Weathers.
He is very fancy. I mean, he's becoming a rather wealthy individual at this point, right?
There's a lot of gold on that chain.
I'm curious to see what that planet's all about. That'll be cool.
A couple of whatever Babu Frick is.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was going to text you while I was watching it. on Monday night. I was gonna literally text you and go, just Babu Frick. And I was like, you know what? Let him, because I don't know that it's Babu, but it's clearly the same species.
Yeah,
I actually told
it is ready. I still love that. Okay, I've said it before. While I'm not like blown away by where they went with the sequel trilogy, they should have let obviously it continue after the way that 8 flawlessly landed it. If we didn't have the 9 that we got, we wouldn't have gotten Babu Frick, and that would have been a crime. So I'm okay with it for that alone.
Yeah.
So let's just bring him back. Also, you saw that creepy Jabba rat, whatever that thing is, was also there.
Oh yeah, what was his name? He had another one of those. Oh, it was
that thing.
Salacious Crumb. That was his
name.
Tubulous Chonk and Salacious Crumb.
That's our band name.
Well, I mean, everyone knows that the best Star Wars name of all is Elon Slizbaganow.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I'm still hung up on that. Was it Max Rero and the Jizz Whalers?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Yeah, there's not much else. Like, it was excellent. It was fun. It got me excited again. Like, I'm all for it. I'm pumped that I'll be seeing it shortly. I'm a little bit bummed that it won't be part of my like holiday routine like it was the last 2 times.
Yeah. Which
was fine though. It's fine. It's just like I started to like merge those things together, right? Like experiencing Mandalorian around the holidays it's fine. It's totally fine. I have a stuffed Grogu. It's great.
We got Mando watch.
Elio says Grogu now. It's fantastic. Nice. Yeah, he points at he's got him on a plate and he goes Grogu. I'm like, you killing it.
It's good.
Our work is done.
We'll have some Mando watch soon.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Tell me about this Titanic mystery that was solved. Now, is this a mystery about the Titanic or a Titanic-sized mystery that was solved?
Both.
Oh, okay.
This is on Rolling Stone from January 15th. See, James Cameron finally debunked the raft theory in clip from Titanic documentary.
Huh.
The director actually conducted, quote, scientific study with stunt people and hypothermia experts to prove Jack and Rose both couldn't survive.
Amazing.
I thought you would enjoy this. Titanic director James Cameron wasn't kidding when he said he conducted a, quote, scientific study to debunk the theory that Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio could both have fit on a piece of floating debris at the end of the 1997 film. In a new clip from the upcoming documentary Titanic 25 years later, the filmmaker is on hand as stunt people reenact the tragic scene, proving once and for all that DiCaprio's Jack and Winslet's Rose couldn't both survive the ship. For a quarter century, fans have debated the sequence, arguing that both characters could have floated atop the piece of debris above the icy waters. In the actual scene, Jack sacrifices himself to a hypothermic death in order to guarantee Rose's survival. An episode of Mythbusters also surmised that Jack's death was needless. Cameron refuted their results and promised to conduct his own tests to validate the film's ending. Quote, we have done a scientific study to put this whole thing to rest and drive a stake through its heart once and for all, Cameron told Toronto Sun in December. We have since done a thorough forensic analysis with a hypothermia expert who reproduced the raft from the movie. We're going to do a little special on it that comes out in February. Oh, excuse me. That experiment features... Sorry, I just burped pure hops.
It snuck up on you there.
It did. That hop flavor and juiciness burst out of the can. That experiment features in Titanic 25 years later with James Cameron, premiering February 5th on National Geographic. In the clip, Cameron is poolside as the stunt people act out the scene in cold but not freezing waters, culminating in the debris sequence. Quote, the faster your heart's beating, the faster that cooling blood from your arms and legs is coming into your core, taking your temperature down. So I was really curious to see what that did to Jack's situation, Cameron says. And it's pretty interesting. What we saw was he got up there and he immediately went into a really strong shaking, shivering. Well, fans will have to wait until next month for the end result. It's assumed by the clip that the weight of Jack, already reeling from hypothermia, and Rose would be too much to keep the debris, which Cameron clarified was a piece of wood paneling from the first-class cabin, and not a door, as many suspect, from partially submerging.
Oh my god, I just love this concept that it's been getting under his skin for years. Like, years! Yeah. He's been so furious about this.
So in this article, there was a clip from this. It was a sneak peek clip from this documentary. It's a couple minutes long, and they actually are submerging 2 stunt people in cold water and subjecting them to hypothermic conditions. Now, they said, we're not going to put them at risk and put them in water's temperature as cold as what it was in real life for that situation, but we'll compensate by putting them in there for longer. And they have people there to administer to them. They have them connected to stuff to make sure that they're like not at risk of going into cardiac arrest or anything like that. Sure. So you can watch part of the clip, but it only shows the beginning of it as they're submerging. They actually recreate the scene where like there's a guy that's like trying to hold himself up above the water and is drowning Rose, and he comes and Jack comes over. So they literally do that to the female stunt person. They're like dunking her under the water, and James Cameron's like saying dunk up, dunk. And then,
I love the concept of him directing this experiment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but yeah, that's basically what's happening. And the 2 of them climb up on top of the thing, and they're sitting there, and you see the guy start shivering immediately. And they surmise basically that the increased amount of muscle mass for him versus for her actually worked against him in this situation because the greater muscle mass requires more blood flow, which means that the colder blood from his extremities was dropping his core temperature at a faster rate than it was for her, which is why he starts shivering first and all that. But they kind of they leave it on a cliffhanger ending before showing the final conclusions, and also you'll actually watch it when it comes out next month.
I love this concept because I feel like what really happened is during the making of this movie, he was like, look, Jack needs to die, obviously. And he's like, and I need to make it scientifically accurate. And like, he already did all this research. And everybody's like bashing it. And he was like, you sons of bitches.
You know what this is? This is someone who did a doctoral thesis. And then 25 years later, some other upstart PhD candidate tried to debunk it, and he showed up to the thing and dropped his nuts on the table. It was like, fuck you, you're not disproving my thesis. Go to hell, you'll never be a doctor.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, enough of James Cameron and his not doors. What's going on with Ted Lasso?
All right, this is on Variety. This is from a couple hours ago. Ted Lasso Season 3 sets spring premiere and debuts first look at Ted and Nathan's rivalry. The 3rd season of the hit Apple TV Plus comedy series Ted Lasso will premiere in spring of 2023. The season also has a new first look image seen above depicting Ted and Nathan facing each other after becoming rivals in the Season 2 finale. The news came out of Apple's presentation during the Television Critics Association's Winter 2023 press tour, which also featured Ted Lasso co-creator Bill Lawrence and writer-star Brett Goldstein on a panel about their upcoming series, Shrinking. When asked about Ted Lasso during the panel, Lawrence was tight-lipped about Season 3, said, "I've seen cuts and it's fucking amazing," as Goldstein emphasized his pride in the season.
Amazing.
Though no official confirmation... Oh, sorry. What's that?
I was going to say, Ted Lasso is one of those things. I don't need anything at all, but a date.
Yeah, which
I am 100% bought in. I don't need to know what's going on. I just want to watch it.
Though no official confirmation has been issued, it has been long believed that Season 3 will be the end of Ted Lasso, in large part due to comments by cast members. Sudeikis told Entertainment Weekly in 2021 that he saw a 3-season arc for the series, but would potentially be open to making more. While Goldstein said to the Sunday Times that Season 3 of... This is horribly written. That Season 3 was being written as a curtain call. Okay. And then the rest of it's just housekeeping stuff.
I have a feeling that they're not going to officially say that it's the end, but they're not going to announce coming back. And then I feel like they're like leaving it open for a possible resurgence in like a few years down the road or something like that.
It could be. I think that would be dependent probably upon what goes on.
Everybody's
doing. Yeah. Well, just like sure. Where everyone's at the end of the show.
I will also say, like, I don't know, 3 seasons? It's good. 3 seasons is a good place. I mean, one of the best television shows ever made was 3 seasons, and I feel like it was so incredible because they stopped.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm talking about Newsroom.
Yeah, but unfortunately, even that one, the final season felt kind of rushed. I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit.
I loved the first 2 seasons of that show. The 3rd season was
so good
and perfect. But
he doctored the tapes. He doctored the tapes. He doctored the motherfucking tapes. I love it. God, I want to rewatch that. Wasn't Lovesick also 3 seasons?
It was
another flawless show.
Pretty much, yeah. I love that show.
Don't look the snake in the face. What was the line?
Oh, I don't remember that. It's been a while. I watched it like twice concurrently, basically. And I have that, but that was several years ago. I would like to go back and rewatch that show. I loved that show so much.
That was so excellent.
Great lines in that show.
Such a treat. Really, just a blast. All right, that's cool. So Ted Lasso coming up. That's exciting for me. I'm glad we got you on board. Got you a trial, and you were able to watch all of it. You'll probably have to fork up $5 and subscribe for a month to.
No, I've stayed on with it because I've been watching For All Mankind and.
Oh right, I forgot you continued.
I watched Severance and something else I wanted to. Oh, eventually I'd like to get to Foundation, but I'd like to finish the books first. Sure.
Sweet. Well, I think that does it for the news. I think we've got actually. I know you said before the show started that you don't have a ton for consumption, but I think there's some conversations to be had here. So let's get into some consumption. Al, what do you consume?
Well, I'll start with something that'll be a pretty quick topic, but part of the reason why I didn't have a ton for consumption this week was because I consumed so much playoff football this weekend. It was on Saturday. It was on Sunday. It was on Monday night. The football was great, by and large. The Monday game kind of sucked, but even that had its moments. I know you don't actually care, but we're talking about what we consumed, and I consumed football, and it was glorious.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Listen, I don't actively dislike these sports.
No, I just don't
have
care.
The draw.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate that you enjoy them, and I want you to continue.
No, that's fine. It's just me. It's just me indicating that is what I consumed this week. And, it hit the spot.
All right, I've got 3 things before we get into our more important consumption topic. So first is Kim and I burned through the first season of Abbott Elementary. It is fantastic. It is so funny. It's got the style of like an Office Parks and Rec, right? Where there's a crew that is there filming while the story is unfolding. Like it's like a document, like they're shooting the documentary, but you're watching the storyline similar to the other shows.
I think Mike Shore or Mike Shore's wife, one of them is involved with that show.
So I was gonna say it definitely it leans more Parks and Rec as far as the execution. And which I'm all for because I'm a Parks and Rec over Office person. I like them both, but I prefer Parks and Rec. The characters though that they've created for the show are so funny. Like they're obviously caricatures, but they just each one of them brings something extraordinary to the table in the funniest way, and their chemistry is on point. A show like this is gonna have a bad pilot episode, and it didn't.
Huh.
So that was like, it wasn't, it's not as polished or like as easy to get through as the rest of the season. But like you think Parks and Rec pilot, Office pilot, terrible. Not good.
Well, frankly, the first season of Parks doesn't really work for me super well.
Parks and Rec is rough until Adam Scott and Rob Lowe join the cast and round everything out.
Which is like halfway through the second season.
Mm-hmm. It's a good thing they got that far. But this is great. They all hit it off like immediately. It's funny, you can see like within the run of the first season, certain characters stay exactly as they were in the pilot because they nailed it, knocked it out of the park. And there's some that they adjust a few times throughout the first few episodes until they click and they just hit their stride. And like now that's who the character is, and it's really entertaining. And they're short. It's like 30 minutes. It's a quick watch. It's like, I think you would actually really enjoy it if you're looking for like a palate cleanser in between things of just like hey, I want to throw something on, a couple chuckles, and that's it. And like watch an episode at a time. It's really very entertaining on HBO.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the show other than it like takes place at an elementary school or whatever. But I know people rave about it, or at least for the last year or so. I've been hearing that.
So good. Well, we watched it because we were watching award shows and it was winning all these awards, and we're like, well, what's the deal? And we watched it and like, oh yeah, I get it. I also would have voted for that. So I highly recommend. A lot of fun. The next thing on my list, cannot recommend, but I love it,
Boy.
and that's The Flash.
Oh no!
It's just I just finished the 8th season. I watched like 6 episodes in a row one night while Kim was working, which is just far too many episodes to watch because they're like an hour long. They mostly do the same thing in each episode, but for whatever reason, I've just loved the show since it started, and I'm seeing it through to the end. This is the last season is starting in a month, so I had to catch up so that I could watch it live. But it's just it. I love the heart that the Flash show has. I love some of the characters, even if it is super repetitive. Like, you know how I said like 3 seasons, great. This is like 8 seasons is probably 6 seasons too many for this show, but I'm still here for it, and I'm gonna watch it through to the end. It did not go off the rails the way that Arrow went off the rails. Like, it's definitely gone places where you're like, what in the hell is happening? They've done timeline resets and time travel shenanigan and characters.
Sorry, shenanigan?
More than one shenanigan. And what?
No. No, I object strenuously, vehemently.
Just making sure you're still listening.
I was listening. I was just no. I realized I got it wrong. It wasn't Abbott Elementary. It was Rutherford Falls. That I was thinking of. Wrong show.
Gotcha. But
no, I heard you talking about The Flash and watching 6 episodes while Kim was at work. I had all along.
Yeah, it's so painfully cheesy, yet at the same time,
it's a CW show.
It will get me to tear up occasionally.
Fair enough.
It's really like I said, I cannot recommend it to anybody. But
Dominic used to watch all those shows, so I would catch a bit of them here and there. I largely rolled my eyes at them. I was vaguely interested with a little bit of the Legends of Tomorrow. Was that what it was?
Yeah, that had a little bit more of an ensemble thing going for it, they all do by the end of their seasons. Like, Arrow starts off very dedicated to Oliver Queen, right? But then it expands and new characters are introduced and it becomes an ensemble show. The Flash, same thing. It becomes an ensemble. The thing is with Arrow, it's like every episode is Oliver brooding and it gets to be a lot. Whereas like every episode of The Flash is Barry just having just this mental crisis of carrying the world on his shoulders. And it's more heartbreaking than it is upsetting.
Part of, I think, maybe what made it hard for me to take Arrow seriously was, isn't he just dime store Batman?
Yes.
Which is weird, because, like, he's also DC. Like, it'd be okay-ish if, like, Marvel did that. And even to an extent they do. Like, Tony Stark is also kind of, like, not dime store Batman, but he's also Batman, basically.
In the Arrowverse, in the CW Arrowverse, I mean, his dad doesn't die until he's, like, in his 20s.
All I know is he's pissy about his parents being dead. He inherited a bunch of money, and he's a superhero.
Yeah, well, his mom doesn't die for many years after that either. He's like, he's Batman, but didn't earn it.
Fine. All I know is he's a pissy rich kid who is a street level crime fighter. So, like, he's Batman. He's dime store Batman.
Yeah, I will say though, Diggle is my favorite character in the show, and
he was.
I pretty much watched it for Diggle.
He was the guy from Dexter, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's so funny because when I see him and things, that's what I know him from. So my immediate reaction is Diggle, and I just it's him again. But I love it. I forget what was he? I remember him showing up in Dexter, but I don't remember who he was.
He was a confidential informant who Deb uses, who was actually Quinn's informant, but Quinn was paying him off the book, so he wasn't actually a real confidential informant.
Right.
And then him and Deb end up dating in the next season.
Yeah. So is Diggle's got the tortured soul on lock. That's his bread and butter. But anyway, I watched that. I caught up, so now I'm ready for the next season to start. And then last night, I watched 4 episodes of Rings of Power.
Oh,
which is far too many episodes to watch in a single sitting.
Probably. I mean, I did watch.
It's like watching one extended Lord of the Rings movie.
Basically, I mean, like when I watched it, I watched like the first 2 episodes across like 2 or 3 days, and then I didn't watch it for a couple of weeks, and then I watched like 2 episodes on the plane to Denver, and then I watched like the next episode in pieces through that week.
Sure.
And then like the final episode when I came back. So I didn't quite binge it the way that you did.
Gotcha. I will say it comes to the occasional screeching halt, but I really, really like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think
that's great. The thing I haven't understood. Like a show, and this is my feeling towards kind of criticism in general. I mean, even constructive criticism, but like a thing can have flaws and still be good. There aren't good shows and bad shows. There are fantastic shows, there's really good shows, there's good shows, there's guilty pleasure shows, there's just bad shows. But even a fantastic show is not perfect. There'll be the occasional flaw. There'll be I didn't like that character choice, or they kind of left that storyline hanging and dangling. But the show can still be fantastic. You can disagree or dislike a thing, and it can still be really good. This one is, I think, a good to really good show that has a couple of misfires, but by and large, I think the good and the fun outweigh the bad or the boring. But there is a couple of bad or boring things. There are. But there are just more better things in it.
I could not agree more. Like, it's anytime it has a hiccup, I'm like, you're excused. Like I mean, because I'm enjoying the rest of it. I'm so interested to see where it's going.
For every shitty Isildur, there is a fantastic relationship between Elrond and Durin, and for every shitty annoying...
Hang on. Is shitty Isildur like like you don't like the character or the things that he does? Is one of Isildur's shitty actions a shitty Isildur?
No, he is shitty and does shitty things, annoying things, at least. You know, I don't remember that name of that annoying... Was it Theo? That annoying-ass kid? Yeah. For every Theo, there's a Galadriel. So, to me, you know, for every...
It's all about Doran.
Yeah, well, specifically, Durin and Elrond, their whole relationship, their whole story is fantastic in this.
I'll watch a whole series on that alone.
Yes, it's really strong. So
I just got past the part where where Doran goes back with Elrond, and he makes the comment about the stone that makes up the table and how it's very precious to them, and he lied. Just because his wife wanted a table. I love that. Like, that was so... It's like whoever wrote, like, continues writing that character, like, they know exactly who that character is.
Listen, Durin's a big wife guy, okay?
I don't know if you heard that. Did you just hear music?
No.
All right. I clicked my headphone, and it just started like moving it, and it started playing some very aggressive music, and I don't know what it came from. And I clicked it again, and it stopped.
So you must have had something in the background that you had been listening to.
I guess. Who knows? Anyway, that was alarming.
Yeah.
I'm back now.
I mean, I'm fine.
But do you have any other consumption before we get into a bigger topic?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had a couple of... Well,
Okay.
So the one question I had was, are we going to be doing The Last of Us as part of consumption, or are we going to do the last word on The Last of Us?
Oh... Let's do that specifically because I want to get into episode spoilers.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to have to skip this portion of it if they are not looking for that.
Yeah.
So
also this morning when I was kind of mentally doing a rundown for this week's episode, I was like, ooh, we're probably going to do this like this. And I usually end up coming up with the stupid names we name our segments on these things. Like
The Last Word of Us.
the Boba's Feature Fet, or well, you did Manda Watch. I did Boba's Feature Fet.
Manda Watch.
There was another one, wasn't there? What else did we do?
Get out of here, you panda bitch.
What other show? Wasn't there another show we did? this?
We definitely did.
Those are the only two I can think of off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I was thinking about this morning. I was like, what do we do? I said The Last of Us. I feel like, oh yeah, there we go. Last word with The Last of Us.
I love it. That's perfect because I'll be watching this one religiously as it drops. So,
well, now that the Monday Night Football stuff should be done, it should be easy for me to watch it either Monday or Tuesday. I watched it Tuesday this week.
Perfect.
So, yeah, so we'll save that till after. So my only other consumption note is the only other thing I watched. So I watched The Menu on Friday with Gianna, who I didn't want to say anything because I knew it was up in the air whether she'd be able to join us for the show. She did want to, but she wasn't feeling well this evening. So, but after that, we watched it on the earlier side, and it's not a very long movie. So I cruised through the most recent season of Archer. Finally finished it, and it was good. It's fun. The show is still fun. It's not quite what it was at its heyday, but it's still a good watch.
The last season of what? You cut out at the most important part of what you were saying.
Oh, of Archer. Season 13 of Archer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. It was a good watch.
I thought maybe that if I kept listening, I'd be able to figure it out, but then you were like done. And I was like, oh no, I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, usually when I finish a thought like that, you kind of either have a question or a thought, and so
Sure.
I was ceding the floor to you, and your question or thought was, I don't know what you're talking about.
I would like to highlight one more thing. I've highlighted this before, and I will highlight it again. Our audio quality on the actual produced podcast that we put out is superior to what we're experiencing here because our vocals and stuff recorded locally at a high quality, and then they're stitched together. And over the call, it's just nonsense. And there are so many podcasts that I listen to where clearly the audio is what they captured over the call, and it's not good.
Yeah, that's true.
But it costs $20 a month to not do that. So fork it up. Okay. You know what I mean? Just do it. Just do it, people.
Which is concerning when professional podcasts that
that's what I'm saying.
That get paid, which we don't.
Yeah.
That get paid don't fork up $20 a month or whatever it is that you just said. 20 a month, whatever it is.
Yeah, 20 a month. It's so simple. The interface is great. It's super easy to use. Most of the time, the problem is me and something disconnecting on my side. So it's great.
Well, the last 2 weeks, it is specifically directly your fault because you've unplugged your own microphone 6 times.
But I'm getting a little agitated with my Blue Yeti over here. I mean, it served me well. It did start falling apart. Pieces of it have fallen off. The logo's gone. I don't know where it is.
What are you doing to the microphone?
But it's nothing. You see it.
It's a delicate thing. I try to touch it as little as possible, and yet I still feel it to be fairly sturdy. So
I touch mine
popping off the headpiece on it.
Nothing. I'm doing nothing because mine is on a boom stand on a shock mount hanging on my desk. It literally touches nothing. When I move it, I don't even touch it. I touch the arm, and then one day I just heard ding 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 ding, and I was like, "What the hell was that?" And it was the metal logo just moving across my desk.
I don't understand. You have literally the perfect setup, professional setup. Mine is currently sitting on a rickety coffee table, a foldable, collapsible one that is as old as I am. And I move this microphone all the time into the other room so that it's out of the way. I don't understand.
I'm just going to assume that the resonance of my voice is what it vibrated the glue that held the logo on, and it just came off. That's all it was.
It's because you've rearranged your office 14 times from...
That's true. It's probably just moving the desk around. Granted, it's mounted to the desk, but I do move the desk a lot.
It's because every 3 months, you pivot your entire desk 90 degrees to the right, and then 3 months later, you pivot it 90 degrees back to the left in the exact same configuration. I don't understand... You are doing the Austin Powers of feng shui adjustments. You just keep moving it back and forth to the same spot. If you tried a third thing, I'd be like, okay, at least you tried a third thing. You just keep doing the same thing back and forth. I don't know why.
Well, listen, I spend the majority of my daily time in a room the size of a jail cell. I need to move it around occasionally. So.
Sure, I just try something new is my point.
The thing is, there's not much I can do with the size of my desk. There's only 3 walls that it can go on.
I know. I'm advocating on behalf of the third wall.
Oh, the one behind me?
Yeah.
I put it there for 5 minutes. And I was like, no. I can't. There was something very Sicilian about the door being to my back that I couldn't get over.
Wow.
And I just moved it back over here.
It's Dune. You took your lead from Dune. Never sit with your back to the
Keeping
door.
it over there was inconceivable.
Not to evoke a second Sicilian thing, but
man.
So
Anyway,
season 13 of Archer was
okay. Season 13 of Archer. It was
good. They did, considering the last season, they had to shoehorn in how they were writing out Mallory because Jessica Walter died. Rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
They spent most of this season trying to find a way forward without her. And the character they introduced like halfway through the season prior was really good. He's a total douchebag. Him and Archer have a great like butting of heads relationship, and just constantly, and it's voiced by Kayvon Novak, who's Nandor in because Archer for whatever reason has always had great synergy amongst other FX properties. Every season, they have 5 or 6 guest stars who are from other shows on FX, which I think is really cool.
Amazing.
But he's been by far the longest running of all of those characters because, like I said, he's been on for a season and a half. So the way this season ended was to really show what the actual that relationship wasn't a good fit. So this seems to have an actual way forward. They're going to chart for what the future of the show might hold as to who's going to run the agency and all that. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I said, definitely not what it was at its highest point, but there was some. It still has its moments, and more consistently than what Late Stage Family Guy does. Like the overall quality of the season, the last couple of years has been, I think, much higher than a lot of the last several years of Family Guy has been on a episode to episode basis. But they've also made adjustments to account for that. The seasons are 8 episodes long now, and that's fine. Just you can do more with less.
Yeah. Hey, I was literally just singing the praises of 3 seasons. Pop up. Any other consumption?
Nope, that's it.
Well, I think this may be within record time. It's time for our flick of the week. The Menu, released in 2022, rated R, with an hour and 47-minute runtime. Your IMDb synopsis. A young couple travels to a remote island to eat at an exclusive restaurant where the chef has prepared a lavish menu with some shocking surprises. I mean, what a very perfect synopsis. You can't say anything more without messing with the story. So, good on you. It might not necessarily get people in seats.
So, well, I won't say any more but yeah, you're right. An accurate but super vague to the point of its own detriment, maybe.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh well, let's hear your hot take.
Yeah, that's part of it. So, and pardon
you just say the same thing again.
No, pardon the terrible review speak, but also I regret nothing. Terrifyingly funny, deliciously dark, and poorly marketed. Don't watch this movie. Experience it. 8.5 out of 10.
Wow. Okay. All right. Right on. A delicately balanced satirical comedy and psychological thriller, The Menu's insane premise is perfectly executed by Oscar-worthy performances all around. 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
I think 8.5 actually sounds right. I just, you know me. I don't do the points. I don't do the half points. I'm a whole point kind of guy.
Well, I liked it so much that I was like, do I like this too much?
Yeah.
Am I being way too childish about something? But no, this is a damn good movie.
It's so good.
It was marketed terribly. I mean, the main trailer I saw had an element of intrigue to it. And I think they were trying to go for, we want this to surprise you in a good way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think in their hesitance to spoil what this movie was actually about, they got too vague even. And I understand But like, I think it's to their detriment. And I don't know what its box office performance was. I have no idea what the critical response was. I saw a bunch of promo for it for like a 2 or 3 week stretch before it came out, and I've heard
we have a
nothing
7.3 on IMDb.
All right, so it's not terrible.
But yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I just kind of assumed cannibalism just based on the fact
Absolutely.
that... Absolutely.
I would 100% was waiting until... It's funny. So me and Gianna were watching this. I got home on like the later side from work Friday, and I was walking in. My parents were walking out. They're like, "Oh, we're going out to dinner." I was like, "Okay, cool." And my sister was like, "Oh, I'm gonna like order pizza. Like, what do you want?" I was like, "Oh, you should let me know. I would have picked it up on the way home." I was like, "So." I was like, "Do you want to watch this movie with me?" I said, "Me and Anthony are doing it. I think it's supposed to be kind of a horror, but maybe also funny too, based on the vibe I got from the trailer." Mm-hmm. She's like, "All right." She's like, "I'm not really big on horror, but I'll give it a try." I was like, "I'm kind of in the same boat."
Yeah.
And we sat down to watch it, and we're both like loving it from like 15, 20 minutes in. And my parents got home. We were probably... had like 30 minutes left, and so like things were fully off the rails at that point. And my mom's like, "What is this?" She's like, "Is there like, are they like gonna like as they're preparing one of the courses, like she's like, are they gonna eat people?" I was like, honestly, going in this movie, like I was like 100% certain that was gonna be a part of this.
Yeah.
But they've gotten to the point of the movie now where if they haven't eaten someone yet, I don't think they're going to.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely I really... There's no way to pitch this movie. I like, other than like, all I could say is like, if you like, I've watched it. I think this is one of the greatest things that I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I really like this.
It was excellent, and I can't understand the performances were out of control. They were fantastic. Like, I mean, you always expect a certain level of quality from Ralph Fiennes, right?
Yes.
Like, and you anything less would actually be what's shocking. Like anything less than like a perfect performance. And I don't know. I believe that he's elevating everybody in the room.
Yeah. And you know what? He doesn't really go big at all in this. He's done that in the past, and usually it's for the right reasons. Every once in a while, if you hear some of the way he talks about some movies before and after when he's like doing press for him or whatever, or interviews, sometimes it feels like he's like, "Oh, why am I doing this?" Even like I remember him talking about after the fact when he was first cast for Harry Potter to play Voldemort. He was like, "Oh, come on." And showed up first day of set, whatever, they're putting the prosthetic on him. He's like, "This is ridiculous." And to me, I'm like, well, why would you take the job then? But whatever.
Sure.
But he basically said after doing the first 2 movies, he's like, "Okay, I get it now." Because I really had my hesitation, even like through the process. He goes like, "I totally get it now." And that's a character that is supposed to be played big. He's done that with some other roles. For the most part, he avoids the campiness, but he dips his toe in the water every once in a while. But he is a professional. He's the quintessential British actor who is going to give you 100% of effort, even if the work doesn't deserve it. And thankfully, most of his roles, I feel like it deserves it. So
for sure. He's got something with his gaze that like I feel like it carries so much weight in his performances, like the way, like, because he'll stare just, I mean, and you're never supposed to look at the camera, right? But he'll stare just off of it, but close enough that it really feels like he's looking at you, like when he's delivering a line, and it's very unsettling, and especially in this movie, and like his intensity throughout this movie, like, and like paired with like when it looks like he's staring directly at you and saying something to you, makes you crawl out of your skin, but in the best way. Like a good thriller like this, the whole time you like, I gotta know what's going on. Like I gotta know where this is going. I'm so excited. Like that's how I felt the entire movie. Like, where are you taking this?
Yeah.
And like, you don't really know. Like, I mean, if you figured it out, good on you. But like, to the degree and like to the lengths that it goes to, it is so outlandish.
Well, this type of movie had the best sort of puzzle box situation. Like I'm talking about, like, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, where I had preconceived notions based on the trailer and just kind of the aura around it.
Yeah.
Some of those were pretty correct, some of them not. I didn't know exactly. I assumed it was going to be one of those things where it became kind of a most dangerous game / Hannibal situation.
Yeah. I was convinced for like the first third of the movie, I was like, which one of these patrons are we eating as the last course?
Yeah. Or like, I also wondered if it was even going to be kind of like a reverse Waiting for Godot situation where a character was just going to keep disappearing, but there wasn't going to be a good reason for why they weren't there as each next course was being made until like we got down to there's only a couple of people there and finally someone was going to figure out what was going on. That was my assumption.
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't that.
Sure.
Although there probably would have been an interesting way to do that, but
this is so unique.
Yeah. So once the movie starts to unfold, there were sequences where it's like, ooh, I have no idea what's coming next. And then once they showed that and the reveal ended up being usually, I thought, pretty like solid payoff.
Yeah.
A lot of times it would be followed by something else. And I would usually be able to guess that thing. But so I thought that was really cool where it's like, ooh, I'm not sure. Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? I got it right sometimes. I didn't get it right other times. But then once that mystery unfurled, to be able to do the next thing and guess, ooh, well, okay, so if that happened, I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen next. To me, having like multiple stops along that path, I thought was really a cool way to do this.
It's funny that you explained that way because like the way that you experience the movie, I feel like in the way that you're describing it is exactly how like Nicholas Holt's character is experiencing the food throughout the movie, like not knowing where to go and then like breaking it down and figuring it out and like, but then there's always some extra surprise around the corner. And while we're experiencing the movie that way, Anya Taylor-Joy's character being the audience proxy, as well as like one of the like the person that you're rooting for, like that, like it pairs so well together to have them at the table together. I feel like the movie is executed flawlessly. Also,
like layers of like okay, well, what is the whole big mystery that's going on? What is the mystery of this couple? What is the mystery of all of their relationships to each other? Because even their coupling is a layered mystery, right? It's okay. How did they get invited? They're one of these things is not like the other, and this couple is it, right? You have a rich couple, you have a reviewer and her agent, you have a famous actor, you have finance bros. Like there's okay, you can understand how each of them would get invited. How did they make it on?
Yeah,
right. So, and then on top of that, you have right at the beginning when they come in. There's a snafu with she's not the person who is supposed to be on this reservation.
Yep.
So how did that go down? How did this couple even meet?
Also combined with her catching the eyes of the rich couple, and there clearly being tension there.
Yes.
And like, oh, okay, there's your onion, right? Like even more layers, like on top of the mystery. And we're talking 2 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Like we're already like, what's going on? And then you get to the island, and it's like they have this greeting, and it's like a very big to do. And what's funny to me though is like, have you been to one of these restaurants? And I obviously don't mean what they did in the movie. I just mean like a fancy ass restaurant like this, where like the menu is set.
Where I have to take a boat to it now.
No. Okay, there is a restaurant nearby that we have gone to maybe 3 or 4 times. It is very expensive, but it is absolutely worth it, and it is over the top. And there's definitely a vibe that you get from the chef and the people working there. Like it definitely feels a little culty, but it's really good food. Like it's excellent and unsettling. But like, so when they get there and they're checking in and there is this whole snafu with the guest thing, like that just feels like so real and realistic to me. Like as what could happen at a place like this, where just like, oh my God, this is going to be like, how pretentious is this place going to be? I'm so excited. Obviously it's going to be ridiculous. And then like finding out like how much per head it was and all that stuff. And then like meeting the chef, it's all so many of the pieces are so accurate to a thing that exists that makes like the satire part of it so perfect that it just takes it's a caricature of something that is already a caricature.
all of it is very accurate to all of those types of things. I've never quite been to any place like that, but I've been to nice places. I've heard a lot of stories from my dad being that he goes to Japan, and when they take customers out to dinner there, you get experiences somewhat like this. Not like this, obviously, but what they're lampooning in this. How about this? The real life thing that they're lampooning in this. I've heard stories from my friend Josh, who is a chef and has been to or has worked with people who have worked at places like this. And so you hear the stories through that perspective as well, which is more kind of the other side of the story, right? And it's great because all of this does feel totally on note until you get tortillas that are printed with like financial records or
what
your
are
mistress.
These are tortillas. Maybe my favorite line of the whole movie.
Especially because she doubles down.
Yeah.
She was great at being just such a like snooty and power mad instigator.
Yeah.
Gatekeeper and instigator at the same time.
Yes. It's, oh my god, so good. You get all these people. You're introduced to the cast of characters who are going to be dining at the restaurant. You're introduced to the person who is going to run interference with the customers, which is basically what this character is that we're talking about with the tortillas. And also, which is also really funny, is she's just like the person that does that at the restaurant that I've been to, which is what's really funny to me. That's why I thought it was hilarious. Anyway. Then they run.
Well, she's bad cop,
through the
right?
island.
Like the chef is supposed to be good cop, and she's supposed to be bad cop, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they go through the whole island. They explain like the food is coming from there. They see that they actually have like a barracks, and they all live there. And you're like, this is terrifying. This is getting a little bit weird. And then of course they go in, and it all starts right. The meal starts. The chef comes out. He's talking
it's
about
the amuse-bouche.
when he comes out and he goes through his whole comes out and goes through his whole speech about not eating, experiencing it, and then later on, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, goes to Margot's character is like, "Why haven't you eaten?
You told me not to." Oh, it's great because it's the first time he actually breaks for a minute where he's like,
what I meant.
He's like, you goddamn bitch. Like, you know what I mean. Don't be difficult, even though everything about what I've set up is intended to be difficult for everyone, including myself.
Yeah. And I think it's so... It's funny, though, because I like the way that they really introduce each of the characters, and you get to have some note... Like, you get to establish how you feel about them before it starts to get crazy. Right? And it's like, it's very easy to hate all of them, except her, maybe, Margot. Like,
and even her, you could dislike her because she's so obstinate. Like, she hasn't done or displayed any of the behaviors like the rest of them, which already is going to have a connotation for the average person watching this. You're meant to hate all of these people because they're all rich. They're all not just rich, but they're behaving in the obnoxious ways that you expect rich people who feel entitled, who are in a place like this, are entitled, are privileged. Every one of them does that. Plus, every one of them is in a couple or three of them in the case of the finance bros. Like, and all of them are shitty to the people they're there with, who ostensibly they're supposed to like.
Right. Okay. So, like, going through each set of them, right? You have Lillian, who is the food critic, who is just like thinks she's above all things food and knows everything, right? And then she's so clearly an asshole. And then you have Ted, whose head is so clearly up her ass.
Yes.
Which is like and they're so easy to hate, like instantaneously, right? So like that one, you're like, I don't need any more. You're horrible. Move on. And then you get John Leguizamo's character. I don't remember what his name was. Can I pull it up here?
Movie star.
Oh my god.
I didn't realize they never said his name.
That's hysterical because he's always like, they know who I am. Like, I hope that it's no paparazzi. Like, things like that's pretty funny. But he's definitely like this self-centered, like thinks high of himself movie star. But all in all, his like his ego is really his biggest problem, and it's not actually that bad compared to a lot of everything else that's going on.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, this movie is a takedown of ego in general. It's of the chef's ego, of all of these rich people's ego, of all the chef's egos. It's even the fan who thinks he's entitled to the chef's time, what we find out Nicholas Holt's character is he's just a super fan who thinks he's entitled to something more because of how ingrained and gatekeepery and nerdy he is about this specific subject. He is the obnoxious super fan online. This could have been a Rian Johnson movie because
it's you and me feeling like we could make a movie because we're so into it.
No, it's not even that. It's I don't know. Maybe this is my own ego coming. It's so some of the people we talk about who are in fandoms, like the people that we don't like, who we think have bad faith opinions about Star Wars or stuff like that's who he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
People who get mad when a thing that they love, the next thing comes out and it's not what they wanted it to be, so now they're mad at it because or who thinks that the other person who is the new adopter to the thing shouldn't be allowed to be an adopter to the thing because they've been in it from the beginning, right? Because think about the way he treats her the whole movie. You're smoking, you're not even going to taste it. And like that becomes a recurring bit throughout of it. He's mansplaining just like food to her the whole way. Like it's different than like when they're first served the little thing on the boat, right? She didn't know what it was. Yeah. And he explained, like, it's different when someone asks you a question. Hey, I don't know. And then you use your, like, when you perpetually offer it when it's not asked for, that is such an obnoxious behavior. And, like, that's what that character is.
Yeah, for sure. When Margot is like, I prefer just the oyster. And he's like, no. Like, your preference is wrong.
Yes!
Let me explain to you why. Yeah, it's terrible. You know, I didn't think of it until now because I didn't actually like dissect it. But do they end up representing like all 7 deadly sins in some way, shape, or form throughout? I didn't.
Oh, that's a good question.
Because we definitely have adultery, right?
We have adultery.
We have stealing.
Who was stealing?
The finance bros.
Oh yeah, money. Yeah, that's true.
What are the others?
Well, technically, they're all, I guess, guilty of gluttony.
Yeah, but who represents it? Is that?
I don't know if it's necessarily directly one-to-one the way that you're asking.
Yeah, I'd just be curious if there's something to that in the.
I mean, I guess
in the groups
because they're all, like I said, they're also all guilty of like hubris or ego or whatever. Like
right. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I guess to a degree, they're guilty of all of them.
Most of them are great or whatever. Yeah, that's the point. Is all of the people who were actually invited are basically guilty of all of these things.
Right, and in perfect fashion with figuring it out. Like Margot is kind of on the fence of being guilty of it or not.
Well, we don't know until we get down the line and we find out that she's really not. Like, and that's the whole core debate that Ray Fiennes' character lays out when the first time they really talk about which are you? Are you a giver or are you a taker? Are you one of them or are you one of us? Mm-hmm. You don't know what that means exactly when the first have the conversation. They have it about 3 times throughout the course of the movie. And the first time he introduces it, you don't really know exactly what he means.
No, but I do like that it comes down to like, are you a service worker or somebody who's experiencing the service? Is like the very silly binary version of the question that he's asking. But so that was actually one of the things that made me like when I was trying to guess like what the hell was going on before I finally just surrendered and let the movie take place was like, okay, one, are we going to be eating people at some point during this thing? No.
Yeah, that was definitely taking up too much of my bandwidth. I'm like, at what point is this going to get gross?
Yeah. And then, but then when she runs off to the bathroom and then he comes into the bathroom, I'm like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. Yeah. But then he's like trying to figure out like who she is and stuff about her. I'm like, did they do some sort of like back investigation on all of these people? And they made this comment about the meat. Like if it goes 1 day past what they were talking about, like it would turn rancid and they would all like, you'd be bleeding out your eyes basically. But like, is it that he was very upset that she wasn't eating, but like I was getting concerned. I was like, wait, if you don't eat the whole meal, do you die? Because it's very balanced in a certain way where like, if you're not experiencing all of it, it's over. And I'm like,
if you don't eat exactly 3 ounces of the beef they provided, and also 1 ounce of the chicken they provided, and also 1 ounce of the wine that went along with it or whatever, the chemical balance will be out of whack, and you will immediately be poisoned.
You'll cease to exist.
Well, it's great because even that, like again, to go back to the concept of layers, he keeps asking, "Who are you?" And you find out when they put out the tortillas with the research, that they did psychotic research on these people, which, like, but that's not actually the question he's asking.
Yes.
Right? Which is great to not know that then and think that, oh, it's because they have all this information, so they don't have any information on her. But then later on, you realize, no. There's a much deeper core question that's at hand here. Yeah. Not who are you, it's who are you as a person?
Right. Oh, man. It's so good. I loved... So, like, in similar to going to one of these it's ridiculous restaurants of them explaining what the dish is and what inspired the dish and why it represents that thing. They do that perfectly, but each dish, it gets more and more uncomfortable until it gets psychotic by the end, right?
The mess.
And what's that?
The mess.
The mess. Oh my god, the mess. But as it's going up, though, I think, as crazy as it is, the last one, obviously, if you read the card of what the meal is, we'll get to that. That was a wonderful description.
All of them. The one, it's great because it starts out super sincere, and it just keeps getting slightly more ridiculous as it goes.
Yeah,
until it gets like totally to the absurd.
Yeah, it was the unaccompanied accompaniments that got me though. That was.
Oh, yeah, when they don't give them the bread. This is the bread that you would have had that you're not having, that you're supposed to pretend as if you were having while you're eating the unaccompanied accompaniments.
Can we get some bread? No.
My favorite card, though, really, truly, is Tyler's meal. When they do the meal card.
Oh my god, yes. Undercooked lamb. Unedible shallot butter sauce. Like what?
Unedible butter cherry sauce.
Oh man, he asks him if he's going to use that machine at some point, right?
Which one?
To make the milk foam.
Oh, that whole scene. I mean, obviously, it's meant to be uncomfortable. You are meant to be uncomfortable basically the entire movie, whether it be interactions that you can't quite make out why they're not working, whether it be the just utterly asinine levels of pretension with the presentation at the beginning before we know things are going to be psychotic. Some of the psychotic things that happen, like a man's ring finger being removed because he was trying to leave early, or when you find out that someone's course for the meal is they're going to kill themselves, or anything else that happens in this movie. But alongside of it, as things get darker and more absurd, it's like a beer. Like we talked earlier about like this beer we did for the show today, where it's an increased malt bill to jack up the sweetness. And so to balance it out, they have to add more hop as well. The darker and more absurd that this movie got, the funnier it also got. It wasn't always in the same moment, but they balanced it out. When he recruits Tyler to come work for him, it's the thing, his darkest, deepest dream that he has done nothing to. It's the person who has all these dreams of what they do for winning the lottery and then never buys a ticket and is just given a ticket. Not a winning ticket, just given a ticket. And it's like, oh, okay, this is real now. Yeah. Come work for us. Come be a chef. I believe in you. He's so deeply unqualified, and rather than actually trying, he just does whatever bullshit comes to his mind of like things he likes or has heard about in a recipe at some point. And that I as much as like we'd already seen a man's finger removed and seen some of the harsh treatment of the guests, but at that point we hadn't really fully seen what was going to happen in this situation yet. I don't remember if it had been announced to the whole group yet at this point that you're all going to die. I just don't remember.
No.
I don't think it had been. I think he told her. He told her. I couldn't remember
it had been, because that scene ends with him dying.
No, but that happens off screen. We don't find out he's dead.
I know it does, but there was he's like, I texted you, and what did I tell you? And he said, we're all going to die tonight. So. That's
true. So he already did know, but either way, like the absolute like evisceration he does as he's going along, whereas like it seems like he's coaching him on. It takes about 1 second for the irony to just drip from his words, and then he's just like berating him like Gordon Ramsay, but not screaming at him. He's doing the much worse thing of doing it cold and monotone and calculated, and then he starts putting the mockery
just
voice on.
Matter of fact.
Goes, what do you need? Anything you want. Anything you could possibly want. We have it.
Yeah.
And it takes him like 5 seconds to come up with an ingredient. He starts giving it to him. Oh, yes. Look at this cutting technique. Oh, look at that. It's something we've never considered before. Everyone gather around. Take notes.
Yeah.
Take notes. Look at the marvelous dicing technique that Tyler is showing us. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's quite a way to do a sauce. And he's just ripping him apart, and he bites it. This is awful. Just awful.
You know what I love about it though, like everything else, like there's layers to all of that too, in that like the things that he asked for and he was using to make a dish could have made an incredible dish.
Yeah.
But he's not a cook.
Exactly.
He's not a chef. Right? And like that, I think that in itself is just so funny.
He finds an individual way for basically all of them to put them into their place at some point or other.
Yes.
And this is his opportunity here. Oh, you're a super fan. You love us so much. You think you have all of like the academic knowledge of how to do all this. You don't know how to do fucking anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you. And I would honestly, this is me, I would pay not a lot of money, but I would pay a few dollars to find out what he whispers to him, because we have
I know.
idea. What he says to him is so cutting and devastating that he hangs himself.
Yeah.
When he, like, 4 seconds earlier was in, like, a euphoric state of glory.
You know what? If I were to venture a guess, I would think that he told him, if this was something I had made, I would hang myself. I feel like it was something along those lines.
Probably.
Because he adores... Tyler adores the chef so much that like he would probably just go do that because he said something.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I loved when they're drinking the tea and Tyler goes, "Is that bergamot?" The chef just goes,
"Yes."
Just this like slow inhale. Yes, like just. Which he wants the scene to come sooner.
Which is funny because, in all honesty, like, you would have thought, even if it was like put on, that he would have been impressed. Like, oh, someone recognized this thing,
yeah,
right? Like, especially when you consider, look at the punishment he puts on, what's his name, Richard. When Richard's the one who wants to leave, and he's like, okay, you know, they make an issue of it, and we're not going to leave. He goes, okay, you can leave with your hand if you can name a single dish. He goes, people would literally die to come here one time. You've been here how many times? Oh, I don't know, 6 or 7? 11. You've been here 11 times.
Yeah.
Name any dish that I've prepared for you in the last 5 times you've been here. And he just totally blanks. And even I was like, Jesus, dude, I remember the name of the dishes. He announces them and tells a story every time he serves a dish. You can't, like, even name, like, what the dish was, even if you didn't remember it was called, like, you know, springtime in the Alps or some shit like that. Like, oh, you made a wonderful lamb dish that had shallots and butter and sherry. You know, like, he couldn't even do that. It's like, what the fuck, dude? He put everyone, you know, the actor about, you know, oh, you just put out this shit. Like, I get one day off. I go to see the movie, and listen, there are movies that aren't good, or you're just not going to like them. And that's fine. That's a matter of opinion. You might eat one of my dishes and it not be for you. But at least you know that I poured my heart and soul into making the dish. And what you did on the screen was offensive to me. I wasted the only day I had off, which, to be fair, is a ridiculous reason to kill someone.
Well, but I did like that, though, because I feel like it also shows, like, how there's a level of, obviously this character, the chef Slowick, is obviously he's unhinged, right? But it's like,
but also calculating at the same time,
right? He's very smart. He planned this whole thing out. He is a cult leader because he has this whole group bought in on what they're doing. But like, it goes the like, the couple, like things were very personally offensive to him. It was like, I feel like it was presented as if it were a bigger offense to humanity. But at the end of the day, each of the things was very personally offensive to him.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, the rich couple not remembering a single thing that they've had. The actor who ruined his Sunday. To be fair, the finance bros of any of them are, like, the most deserving because what they're doing, like, directly affected him and his own business. Like, not, like,
they're personally responsible for some of the actual misery that he's been in.
Right. And then
in like a real way that they chose to do. And her too, yeah.
Yeah, but and not so much him, but more so like people of his craft that have been shut down because of her. That's what he was offended. And
that's the rich guy, Richard, though, was also like that was true of too. Is like people like you do not understand or appreciate in any way, shape, or form that we are giving ourselves at an elemental level. We're giving ourselves to create something for you, and you can't even muster appreciation. Not that we need like a pat on the back, but is there even any indication? Like, you could have anything. You could just go buy diamonds and eat them. But that's not what this is. We are like slaving to create art purely for your pleasure, and it means nothing to you.
Yeah.
At least, like, the actor and the finance bros, like, appreciate, like, the dollar amount at the end, right? Like,
right.
He can't. Well, he's so rich, he can't appreciate the dollar amount. So the least he could do is appreciate the food itself, the experience, what it makes you feel as the diner.
Yeah.
And he can't even do that.
You bring all this stuff together, and I feel like the part of him that is smart, of Chef that is smart, is that like I feel like in the end he was like, okay, but one last thing, I'm going to tell somebody exactly what I'm going to do tonight, and if they come, I'm doing it. Like, I feel like that's what Tyler is.
I think it was. There's probably an element of that. But I think even more, he is meant, like, to go back to my analogy about like the super fan, like it's probably even to point out like how many, whether it be actors or athletes or whatever, who are just terrible people, that they could do the worst thing and you're still going to make excuses for them. Like, how many people, there's a great meme online for, it's from The Simpsons. It's someone trying to shoot someone. I don't watch The Simpsons, so I don't remember the names of the characters. Someone trying to shoot someone else, and someone else is jumping in front of the shot. And on the person doing the shooting, it says totally valid criticism. The person who's being shot at is Elon Musk, and the person diving in front of him is a weird nerd.
Love it.
Every time anyone says a word, even the most valid thing, like, hey, I think the Tesla's too expensive. Like, it's just a flood. And this is before he owned Twitter. This isn't having anything to do with him owning it. This has been a meme for 5 years now. Like,
the universe that surrounds him.
Yeah, like, anytime you utter a peep, like, it's just like, so like when this person does something that like is actually worthy of criticism, there's still people caping for people like that. And that's what this is. I am going to kill everyone. You decided to come and be a part of that. How insane are you? I am actively doing something insane. Now is your chance to be like, ooh, I loved your food all this time. Not for me. I'm probably going to call the cops.
Yeah.
All he does is let his girlfriend know, and she gets to make the choice to not die?
Yeah.
That's insane.
And then of course he brings somebody along because they have
to. He literally brings a hooker. He brings a hooker because apparently he needs to have someone because he's afraid he won't be let in if he doesn't have a person.
Right.
He doesn't want to show up alone because that's going to be personally embarrassing to him. And she's less than a person to him.
Yeah.
Oh, I paid you. You're a whore. Who cares if you die?
Oh my God.
How
so bad.
Fucking insane is that?
It's so dark. The whole movie is so dark. I love, though, like we've talked about, this unfolds, like, I feel like at a perfect pace throughout the movie.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Like, and it's mirrored exactly in the meals, right? Whereas, like, the first one, you're still kind of like, okay, this is fun and exciting. Where are we going? How weird is this? It's like, the first dish is the island, and it's like all the stuff. And then the second dish is the unaccompanied accompaniments, which is like, okay, that's a little up its own ass. And then the third dish
which,
has
again,
this
is
whole story. Yeah, but the third dish has this whole story about stabbing his dad in the thigh, and the chicken thighs have little scissors.
Which, I'm so glad that Chekhov's scissors played an actual story role later on. That's probably my favorite scene, when they do the ceremonial stabbing, And like even that, I was like, my sister was like, "What the fuck? This is so weird." I was like, "It is," but like honestly, as insane as he is, and like he's gonna kill all these people, and that's wrong. And like even though some of these people, like we said, like okay, like yeah, like what they do is fucked up. So if someone in this room was going to be was going to be worthy of getting killed for it, it would be them. They're not actually. None of the things they're doing is actually crimes worthy of execution. Of course not. But he is the only person who takes accountability for what a shit he was. He tells a story. I tried to use my power to abuse this woman sexually.
Right.
That was wrong. Stab me in the leg to punish me the same way I did to my father who did wrong. I am admitting that I always thought I was the better man than him, and I'm just as bad in a different way. I need to be punished for my own. Like I thought it was a fascinating scene.
It was. The actual character study on Chef is insane.
Yeah. He's an incredibly well-written character, and super cool the way that they choose to unfurl it through his own, the story that he crafts, that he wants to tell, that obviously is based in truth, but is also performative at the same time, as well as the research we get into his character, as well as the things that he tells in confidence to, actually, I have Marga, I keep forgetting her name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all those things coming together, that sequence is probably what I think is the funniest, where they all do a terrible job of escaping. I love that Tyler is like, well, no, I want to be here. Like, he knows that they're all going to die, and he still showed up. Why would he try to escape? He knew he was going to die.
Well, what about when they're coming back, and he's like, "What did you get? What did you get while I was out? Are you not going to eat it? I'm gonna have that. What did you get?"
Although my favorite part of all that is ridiculous and hilarious and terrifying as that all was the one guy hiding in the chicken.
Yep.
The door just opens.
The little reward that he gets.
Congratulations, you were the longest surviving person. Enjoy your treat. The guy closes.
Yeah. Oh my god, it was so funny.
It's between two things. There's that scene, and we were talking about it earlier when he takes the movie star to task, and it's the first time he does anything actually good in the movie. He says, "Well, what about I forget what the assistant's name, Felicity? What about her? Could she go?"
Yeah.
"Where did you go to school?" "Brown." "Student loans?" "No." "I'm sorry, you're gonna die."
Yeah.
Which is terrible, but also hilarious. I don't know.
That was good. I stand by my favorite, like the funniest thing for me. Is the tortilla scene. The
tortillas is great too.
That is good. The ones that you're mentioning though are all fantastic.
Yeah.
I did another one that I really love because, well, the reason why I love the tortilla scene, I love the tortillas. I love the no, you can't have bread scene. Great. Yeah. I loved when the critic was like, "Yeah, this emulsion is broken," and she comes back with another broken emulsion bowl and puts it on the table, and she's just like, another one, and Chef is just standing there so proud of him. Oh my gosh.
It was such a big bowl.
It was so big. Oh my gosh, that was great. Like, at first in that scene, it looks like he's about to be really upset and do something to one of the other, like, line cooks.
Yeah, because it's early enough that you would think, like, you don't actually know how insane the situation is yet. It still looks like a normal, way too pretentious, fancy restaurant experience. And so, yeah, you expect him to go, like, again, Gordon Ramsay, he's gonna, like, slap the shit out of the guy who made the emulsion. It's like, because you can understand, like, as a critic, you know that whether or not he likes her or not, he understands how important her opinion is. So you would think, oh yeah, like that's not going to be me getting mad at the critic. It's going to be me getting mad at the cook who embarrassed me.
Yeah. And you also have to assume, like, then by the end of it, like, hers being broken is absolutely intentional.
Probably,
to evoke her responding to it. And like, I love it.
Well, yeah, to show her how ridiculous, like, you spent your whole career ruining people's lives, and then the people you didn't ruin, it was pay for play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how fucked up and corrupt you were in your career because you thought how important your opinion was. And it is, but you didn't realize how important it is. All these people, their lives were ruined because, the emulsion separated a little bit. God fucking bid.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! So as the story progresses, we've touched on it here and there, but the mess was the I'm sorry, the mess was the infraction.
Oh my god!
No, but that really was. That's when it jumps, right? That's when it escalates to like, okay, we're in. Tortillas was like the taste.
Yeah,
like
that was ratcheting up the existential dread from like 7 to 11, and the mess is when you actually understand what this is all about.
But even that, I love that all of these asshole characters are validating themselves and what they're doing. I'm like, it's fake. It's fake. It's
mostly it's her, right? Like,
yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so intense and terrifying and like creepy. It just there was a lot. But when Margot agrees, I guess, to be with them. And he's like, there was a barrel that was supposed to be here. It's not here. Go get it for me. It's in the smokehouse. And she goes to get it and ends up making, he knows where this is, or he has this thing planned out, I guess, which is absurd.
Well, it's a test, right? What is she going to do?
Yeah, but when she goes into his house, so there's a lot of things that are unsettling in the movie, obviously, intentionally so. For whatever reason, the thing that gave me like it was like bone chilling was when she walked into his bedroom and it's the restaurant.
Which, again, was meant to be, an indication as, like, this is an unhealthy obsession.
Yeah. But, like, I was like, of all the ridiculous, absurd, terrible things that have happened so far, why am I having a physical, like, response? Why am I coiling up?
You know what it is? Not that it's directly an homage to anything in that movie, but in that scene was the strongest connection I felt to, like, Get Out or Us.
Yeah, yep.
That was very
that like surreal
Jordan Peele.
It's
right?
that and the chase in the woods. Those two things, and actually arriving on the island too. All three of those were very Jordan Peele.
Yes,
that's but it's like so. It's like so like you can't look away. Like you're just like, oh, where is this going? I did love that. Was it Elsa? I think is the character's name.
Yeah,
that follows her and is creepily behind her. And when she left the knife on the table, I was like, really? The knife on the table? Really? But then ninja moves in the bedroom kitchen to avoid getting hurt and then killing her. And with her last dying breath being, he never told me to get the barrel. Like, I just need you to know that I didn't screw up. I was like, oh my God, this is so dark.
Well, as I say, she's the one character actually that doesn't fit into the whole paradigm of this. Because early on, it's like, okay, she's playing this role of she's the bad cop or whatever, but everyone else you realize is actually here for the long haul, and she's the only one who kind of breaks with all of that. Because really, she shouldn't try to interfere with her like that, and she shows a bit of jealousy, right? Like where you're not going to replace me. She's the only person who breaks rank, and I mean, you would say like, okay, well, she paid the price, she died. Everyone else was going to die as well. I guess she knew going in, she wanted to go out on a different terms. That was really kind of the only broken note for what feels like a perfect script otherwise.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe the whole thing, the whole setup of go get the barrel, it was supposed to be here. Maybe that was just literally Chef testing her as he tests other people in the kitchen. Like maybe that's like a little bit of insight into like the psychological manipulation that he's been performing on them the entire time they've been there.
I guess so. It could be that
still under stress and test.
It could be the one person in this cult who maybe had cold feet. I guess that could work from that perspective. Yeah.
I will go with that just to make it to put a neat little bow on the whole. But my goodness. So moving into Margot radios for help. Radios, quote unquote, for help. And that whole scene was also so intense. When the Coast Guard shows up and you're like, oh my God, is this innocent guy going to be killed? There's a very subtle line that's delivered just before he comes in the room. The Coast Guard comes in the room of like, don't do anything stupid. This man's life is on your hands. Also ask yourself, why haven't you tried harder already to leave? And I was like, I was like, oh my God, because they all know they're terrible on some level.
Yeah. Well, also the funny thing was like in that moment, it was almost like he was like negging them.
Yeah.
It's great because like they did make one half-ass attempt to escape. Mm-hmm. Not even the one that when he's like, "Oh yeah, you guys can all try and escape." Like when John Leguizamo like gets up and he's trying to plot with the finance bros, and like the one guy tries to run away.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm making a very rare adjustment. I'm going up to a 9. This movie's a 9.
Okay.
In talking about it, like I haven't done this much reflection on it with somebody. I'm going up. I'm going up for my 8.
Okay.
It deserves the 9. My God, because in the end, the Samore, the assault on the human senses. What does he call it?
Something like that. Yeah.
But the marshmallow collar that is made for everybody, and then the chocolate hat, and then he stands in the middle of it and sets himself on fire. That whole thing was absurd. I know I skipped over one major part, but we can go back to it.
Yeah. The best part about that was like I said, my parents had come in towards the end, and I think my dad went up to bed. My mom went upstairs, and she came back downstairs, and she was like washing something in the sink or whatever. And so she's kind of like half paying attention to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so several minutes before that, in the background, you see the chefs making chocolate sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, boom, can't wait to see what that's all about. And then they start the whole thing, and they're sprinkling, and you can't really tell at first what they're doing. And then they put the marshmallow collars on all of them, and John's like, what are they doing? And I was like, those were graham crackers, weren't they? And they were making chocolate s'mores. Oh my God, they're s'mores. She's like, yeah. What? And then they put the chocolate hats on them, and he starts talking about it. I was just like, oh my God.
And you know what? No, like we talked about Jordan Peele scenes. The other one is the shot of Lillian with the chocolate hat melting was also felt very Get Out to me.
Yeah.
But getting to that point though, when Margot was in his house finding out that he did used to love what he did, and it was back when it was much more simple, and he was flipping burgers, and he was taking pride in his work, and not like, he was actually being celebrated because of the effort that he was putting in and how delicious his food was.
Well, not just that, because I noticed that part. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, huh. And then when she paused everything, I was like, oh God, she's going to tell him to make a cheeseburger, and that's how she's going to get out. But the other part of it that like I didn't fully process that it's all dovetailed together with it is Gianna noticed this half of it was all of the pictures. He looks fucking miserable. He's smiling in that picture.
Yep.
It's the only time. Yes. It was the last time he actually enjoyed what he did.
It's the last time he enjoyed cooking. That whole delivery too, though, of like, I would like to send the food back, and the way that it throws him.
You see him physically react as if she punched him.
Yeah. And he was like, well,
because remember, like, Tyler said early in the movie, this is not the type of place you fucking send something back to, so like, don't embarrass me. Which is him being a douchebag, but
of course, you child.
Also, again,
like,
that's
kill him right now at the table.
When he said that, I was like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, when she does it, and like watching this whole like, it was almost like they were speaking code together, where she like, and I love how she ordered it. I want a cheeseburger, a real cheeseburger, not some Avant bullshit, whatever. Yeah. And they have this whole thing. Yes, how would you like it? Yeah, medium. Would you like fries? What sort of fries? Curly or?
Well, what did she say for 12? For whatever the price is, it better come with fries.
Yeah.
Oh, and sorry for jumping ahead on it, but like paying for it in the final scene with cash was just like this perfect icing on the cake.
Actually, it was also so great because, like you said, like when he said, also, why ask yourself why you haven't tried harder? Yeah, and then like you said, part of it is that there must be some part of them that realizes how terrible they all are, and to watch like the final stage of acceptance when they've been covered in s'mores materials and are being told they're going to be set on fire and die. He gives them all a bill and a gift basket, and they all sign the bill.
Yes. They do all pay for it
without hesitation. Now, I mean, to be fair, they're gonna be dead.
Yeah, it's like that bill's not gonna go through.
But like, that was like how you could truly realize they were like, "Oh wow, we are fucking awful."
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so great. And then for the food to come, he makes the burger. Also, the way that he made the burger is how I would make it on the. I have a flat top that I have fashioned to like grill outside, and that's how I make the smash burger like that. I was like, I know how good this burger is gonna taste, because that is it comes out so good, and he's doing that, and I'm like, this is you could taste it. That burger looks fantastic.
Well, also
in that scene,
you
right?
could see him making it with love in a way that he didn't, and none of them did. And they were working so hard, but it was so robotic, and you could see the love and care to the least of all the dishes that he's prepared, and you could see in him this kind of inner radiance coming out as he went back to the art of doing something so simple that truly was this is something that I want you to actually enjoy.
Yeah.
And the care and the music, it's the only time the music's not terrifying, frankly, in the movie is kind of warm, heroic type of music softly in the background as he's making it. She takes one luxuriant bite.
But wait, also his subtle smile as he's making it.
Yes.
All right, back to his roots. Yeah, but go on. That's her bite of it.
She takes her bite of it and then is immediately she's not eating anything all day.
No.
To be fair, at this point she's so horrified and filled with adrenaline and adrenaline crash and more adrenaline that she probably can't eat anything right now. But even in that moment, I was because you could tell how deeply she reached him.
Yeah.
What
does she say though? She's she said that's a damn good burger or something like that?
She's yeah, that's a damn good burger. And then she's I'm sorry, my eyes were a bit too big. Could I take this home? For a moment, I was I thought that was going to shatter the illusion, but that was the tacit acceptance of, you're the only person here who actually understands.
Yeah.
And has a chance to go out and do something about it in a meaningful way. In a way that me and my cult can't do. We are resigned to this. We can see how ridiculous this is, but there is no coming back for us. And for the other people, they're not going to learn their lesson. They're going to get a scare and they'll be better for a week. But they'll go back to being shits. They will.
Yep. I also thought it is funny because it's a permission thing, right? Can I have that to go? It's are we good? I'm gonna I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here. And he's gonna. But there's also something to the fact of I do want this later though.
Yeah. Well, because once she finally escapes, and the things are blowing up behind her fireworks, she takes it out and she eats it.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was a perfect way to cap it off. And so that was the final title card. There was the s'more, and it was chocolate, graham cracker, marshmallow, the cooks, and the patrons. It was all listed.
Yes.
It's the meal. Oh man, so good. I really liked it.
I liked it way more than I expected I would. I was a little afraid that it was gonna be a grisly,
gruesome,
gross, grindhouse type of. I was I don't want that, and I was so pleased,
pleasantly surprised. Part of me I had I said I'm changing it to a 9. Part of it was going in, I expected that. So is my high score part of the shock value of that's not what I got? I actually got something that I actually do really like, and then in talking about it with you, I was no, I really appreciate everything they did in this movie. I'm going 9.
This is the type of movie where I wish I remembered some of the lines more clearly. Where I even would have and considering it short enough, I would have considered watching it again before we did the episode. But part of me didn't want to break the illusion of enjoying it so much. Where I want to look forward to watching it again somewhere down the line.
Oh, dude, speaking of lines though, when the other thing with Elsa, when she whispers into the finance bro's ear, I can't remember the exact thing, but it was something along the lines of you'll get exactly what you need and far more than you deserve, but she whispers it in his ear in the most eerie and
no, I think it was you'll get less than you want and more than you deserve, or something.
Yes, that's what it is. That's what it is. And I was just oh.
That was a mic drop moment.
It was, and also it's so much if you've worked in the food industry at all, the amount of times you want to say shit like that to people because they are horrible. People treat food industry workers horribly.
Well, they treat service people, and that also is one of the messages of this. It's certainly the least of the messages, but it's clearly there. Because think about it: a man paid a prostitute.
Yeah.
To accompany him to cover his shame and also to die because he viewed her as less than a human.
Yep.
They all treat service people like utter shit, which is why these service people are going to take them out with them in a blaze of glory, literally and metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real thing. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, the food service industry probably gets it the worst. But I was a valet for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of people treat me so very nicely. And a lot of them were shits. Just absolute shits. And it's like, dude.
Well, it's like when Tyler goes up to talk to the guy as he's preparing the food. And when he goes back to sit at the table, Margot's like, he knew my name. And Margot's like, did you get his? And he goes, no. And he like brushes it off. I'm like, ugh, that made me feel
I missed
gross.
that line, but yeah, that is super gross. Also, like, they ask like very fundamental, simple things, and he immediately and obnoxiously and consistently breaks like one of the few rules they gave. He's taking pictures constantly. It was like one of the few things they asked him not to do.
Mm-hmm. And the fact they use that as the picture on the tortilla.
Yes, perfect.
Amazing. Oh my god, so good. What a treat this movie was.
This movie is way better than it had any right to be, because I was looking up early on, because we didn't talk about it at all. The writers and directors are fairly unassuming. Like, one of the writers has like very few credits. The other one has written a bunch of This Week Tonight or Last Week Tonight, whatever the John Oliver show is. And the director is Mark Mylod, who is a name that I recognize. I had to look up. He's directed, I think, some Succession episodes, some Game of Thrones episodes, a couple of things like that. But he really hasn't
The Affair
done a ton.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I loved it. I just one of the biggest praises that I can give the movie is that, like, and this is what I was telling. I've been telling people all week, like, watch this. Like, if you can do the psychological thriller, like, be uncomfortable a little bit, like, it's absolutely worth it, and it is so good. Like, watch this movie. I was like, the best praise that I can give it. It is unlike anything else I've watched.
Yeah, like I said, there is a little bit of Jordan Peele influence to this, but other than that, this is not quite like most other movies I've seen.
Man, what a film! Anything else?
No, I think that's about it.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of Flix in the Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixinthesix@thespintune.com. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bielsi.
Thanks for coming out. The last word. What is it?
The last word on The Last of Us.
The last word on The Last of Us. The Last of Us started Sunday, as of this recording, a few days ago. As far as the reviews are concerned, I haven't read any because I had heard that they actually gave the entire season to reviewers. So like
they did, which usually for like a show like this, you'd probably give like the first 8 episodes or something like that,
right?
And then wait until like the final 2 weeks to give the final 2 episodes or something like that.
Yeah, there's probably something to it in that, like, if you're a fan and you're looking at this stuff, it's not going to be that crazy if something were spoiled, because they are following the story of the game, so it's not that big of a deal to know where it's going. Maybe that's why it's like kind of safer to do that. But at the same time, I feel like it shows a lot of confidence. It
does. I mean, they have the embargoes, and those punishments tend to be strict. Like, your access is your lifeline in that business.
Sure.
I still haven't had a chance, considering I watched it like 24 hours ago, to read any of the actual reviews on it.
I'm not reading any of them.
Well, there was a couple. I want to read what Seppenwall had. My close personal friend Alan Seppenwall has to say about it, and he was one of the people like extolling his virtues. And he's like, "Listen, I didn't play the game, fucking loved it, and he's not gonna spoil final episode shit in something he wrote this week." You know what I mean? Like, he may talk about some things happening in the season, and he may indicate his feelings towards the season as a whole, but he's not going to spoil shit like that. So I'm not concerned with reading his thing. And also, I know the broad strokes of what goes down from editing Brian's pieces on the games. So,
it's
funny because I was able to track a lot of what happened in the first, like before the time jump. I knew more or less what was coming. I couldn't remember the exact details of it, but I knew, well, I guess we're going full spoilers.
Yeah, we're in spoiler. When we talk the last word on The Last of Us, it is spoilers for the episode.
I knew Joel's daughter died before.
Of course,
everything proceeds.
Big plot point. Yeah. And I could see going into it fresh though, as if you're not a person who has played the game, like that is. I mean, it got Kim. She was like, "Ooh, I don't." She's like, "I don't like that."
Well, because your natural assumption is going to be that it's Tommy who dies, right?
Sure.
If you're because you figure if someone's going, it's probably going to be him.
Yeah, that would make sense. And I like the. Well, I'm going to reserve my statements for a minute. I am curious, what were your thoughts on the episode and the story so far and the characters? Like, I want to hear your take on it.
So I have some different stream of consciousness. I didn't write anything down on it, but I have some stream of consciousness things that I'll try and recreate as best I can, chronologically to how I was watching it. So my first thought was, man, John Hannah looks ancient. No, in all seriousness though, it threw me for a second because I was like, wait, isn't that the guy from The Mummy? He looks so old.
I paused the show and I was like, do you know who that is? And Kim was like, I do, but I can't place it. And I said, Glenn Livett, 12 years old. And she goes, oh, The Mummy.
That's funny. But that scene was horrifying because I didn't know the nature of these zombies. When we started talking about it, I was like, oh, that is too real.
Yep.
It doesn't matter that we're in the middle of a pandemic. This game was created 10 years ago before this happened. And also, fungus has always been weird. And the fact that, I mean, I guess I've never been actually worried before this pandemic happened about an actual viral pandemic before. Maybe that's me being naive. The thing I've always been more concerned with was when you hear about some of these, antibiotic resistant bacterias. That's what I was probably more afraid of. As a down the line issue, and then to hear something like that, and obviously it's a bit heavy handed. The whole thing about well, what if the planets got warmer?
I know, but in that delivery, you're like, fuck.
Yeah, it's like, no. Well, coupled with the fact that it wasn't a surprise to me. I know about the zombie ant fungus thing. That is something I'm already familiar with, and I was like,
I feel like I remember hearing about that for the first time 15, 20 years ago, and being like, what this is a thing.
And I was like, don't like this.
Nope. Unsubscribe.
Yeah, exactly. And then to see that all start to have that moment, it was like, oh, that's gross, and also hopefully unrealistic, but also plausible.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And then just I'm like, I'm not going to like how this goes, am I? And then to see it actually in action, it's like, oh, I like this even less than I anticipated.
Yep.
Did not like, and it was without knowing what was coming in any way, shape, or form, when she goes over to the next door neighbor and it's so obviously done out of focus and you see her hands move, and I'm like, no!
Honestly,
no,
it wasn't even the hands. It was the head going back and the mouth opening that got me. It was so creepy.
Well, but considering we've already been led to believe that she's kind of incompetent in whatever way, she's not fully full of her functions at that. To know that she can't feed herself and to see her hands move like that, it's like, oh, that's gonna be bad.
Yeah,
I already don't like that these zombies move. I guess I got accustomed to the Walking Dead zombie being so unthreatening from that perspective. To watch them chasing and doing acrobatics and shit, I was like, do not like.
Yep.
There's something inherently more terrifying about a zombie that's intent isn't to feed. I think intellectually, psychologically, we can all get to a perspective. Okay, we're down to our base functions. One of the absolute core functions is you must eat to survive. Yeah. And so a zombie trying to eat you, and the byproduct being that if it doesn't succeed in eating you, is that you will turn into a zombie and propagate it that way. It's, I think, something we've all come to terms with. It's part of why 28 Days Later is so terrifying, and it's part of why this one's so terrifying, because and again, this is also a core animal function that we don't think of consciously, is just to propagate, right? It is one of the things that all life has, including ourselves. Our sex drive is driven primarily through trying to reproduce. Yeah, of course, it feels good, and we love that part of it as well, but that is a incentive that is driven to make us try to do the reproduction part of it. And so when you consider this like these zombies don't care about the feeding, it's about the propagating part of it.
Yeah.
There's something even more insidious and malevolent about that psychologically, I think, that makes there an added level of horror that I hate. And like how it happens, where it's just like we're just gonna like stick these gross tendrils out of our mouth.
Oh, the fungus tentacle thing was new, and I was like, don't like that. Don't want to see that.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah. Well, but actually, before those tentacles came out, when Sarah walks into the room and the wheelchair's empty, I was like, wheelchair's empty.
Yeah, no, that was the first thought I had. I was like, oh, come on. Well, because it was like proof. Like you see her hands move, and it's like, oh, that's gonna be bad. Like at some point in the probably near future. Yeah, the dog barking, and then you see the empty wheelchair, and it's like, come on.
And you know what I love, like up until this point so far that we're talking, it's like there's been so many scenes throughout at this point that are like 1-for-1 pieces, like as far as like, well, sorry, not up to this point, but like where that starts is like that are 1-for-1 shots from the game. They took they take key moments that happen in the game, like cutscenes, and they recreated them on screen. You know, they might change where the character is standing or how the camera is angled, but that's because these people are making a TV show and they know how to do that better. And like it is definitely better framed the way that they're doing it in the television show. But like this is a key moment. We respect that this story is already amazing. We will show you the key moment. Like I love that they did that, and that the way that they are filling in pieces in between that the game didn't get to because it would have been like too adjacent to the actual playing of and experiencing the game. Whereas like in television land, you want that story. That's what you're here for. You're here to see how it unfolds and whatnot. And there's different characters, and it's like, whoa.
Well, I heard that. From what I understand, that's going to be true for the whole rest of the show, where heavy sections are going to be faithfully recreated, as well as we're going to get perspectives of other characters that you wouldn't have gotten in the game because you always followed Joel and Ellie's story, right?
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I know they've teased Nick Offerman plays someone fairly important that you stumble across. Apparently, they get basically like a standalone episode almost.
That makes sense.
That goes back to like I think even prior to the whole pandemic starting.
Awesome. So, like he plays Bill. Is that right?
There's a Bill and Frank or something like that. It's
okay.
What I forget what the names. It's like two random dude names that like I know that they're from the game, and I forget which one's which.
I'm trying to look at where. Yeah, Nick Offerman plays Bill. That makes sense. Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm curious to see how all that starts to unfold. To start off with, once you get past the jump to this, and all of that was terrifying and like just like in like a thriller type of sense of way of like the tension of trying to escape. You keep getting cut off. Seeing some of the terrible decisions made by not just them, so many people, and watching how this unravels so sudden. That's the one thing I always find interesting about these types of zombie movies or whatever is what it takes to get to the point and then for it to devolve so fast. Like it shouldn't happen that fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is something thrilling about doing it that way, right? Like, shouldn't this be something that happens slowly? Actually, probably Shaun of the Dead did it the best, where you keep hearing like a news story where like, oh, there's like these 3 sick people.
Yeah.
And like it takes half an hour to get to the outbreak or whatever, but like you keep hearing a rising, like, oh, there's a guy who's behaving weird in the background on that scene. You see a news report about these like 3 people who were hospitalized after being bit by someone who was insane on drugs, and like you realize it takes a few days for it to happen. And to be fair in this, like you get like, okay, there's some sirens earlier that day, but like it's still like it feels like, and it's probably not true, it's just because you end with a time jump, but it feels like the country fell apart in like a day.
Yeah, and it definitely does. I will say I'm not watching reviews, but I am watching like funny things that pop up on this, and there's this whole, there are people that are really following this thread that it's flour that caused all of this.
Like
and
baking flour?
Yeah. So they'll go, they went back and like there was the whole thing about Jakarta, And if you listen on the news, like it's a developing story that's been happening for a while, but something's going on and it's not great. And it is what they start to experience in this episode. But it seems like it's been going on there for a little bit. And then like there's like this whole thing about them being like a major exporter of flour. And why are Joel and Sarah and Tommy not infected? Well, they didn't have the pancake mix. They didn't eat the biscuits. She didn't eat the cookies because there were raisins in them instead of chocolate chips. Okay, like this whole kind of funny, right? I just thought that was, and like that may not be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much wheat flour we import from Indonesia.
Well, sure, but like, I like the idea of like if it were an import, right? That had that carried this thing that like then got on the shelves and spread. It would make sense that within a certain amount of time, it was developing relatively quickly in that area because like. It spread everywhere.
Well, that part makes sense because even like she asked, was it Sarah, the daughter? She asked the questions early on that I also had in this specific instance, but is a question I have broadly. Like, how does it spread so fast? Like, okay, like it starts from one spot and then it goes or whatever. Like, and like that's real pandemic, like exponential growth, all that stuff. Like we dealt with that a couple of years ago, learning about this together in real time. Whether you knew it or not, you learned the real realities of it during this. But when she's asking about the neighbor, they kept taking her to the hospital for treatment. That's probably how she got it.
Yep.
So that part's a little confusing. It's probably one of those things where, like, if you examine it too closely, like the plot of any of it, whether it be the game or the show, just can't work. But it's like,
sure,
there's a certain amount of people who get infected. And then they start spreading it by actively infecting each other.
Mm-hmm.
But no one gets sick from just exposure after that?
So they haven't touched on that yet.
Well, I'm just saying, because like at this point, you have these people in this quarantine zone, and they check everyone to make sure that no one comes in and is going to spread it in the quarantine zone. But we assume that those people are going to spread it, considering they, like, once you're infected, they have the whole thing. Within 3 to 5 minutes, it's in your bloodstream, and within 10 to 15 minutes, it's in your core, and then within 20 minutes or half an hour, whatever, it's in your extremities. Like, so, like, there's a timeline on that. You know, there's a concern. You have to deal with it right off the bat to make sure that person doesn't, like, quote unquote, turn and then start spreading it with the next person. There's an element of you could be in the mode where you might start doing that, but you still have the ability to speak and behave near to normal, but look out for slurred speech, twitching movements. That's a person who's infected. But they don't seem to be worried about breathing anymore. No one's wearing masks anymore past that opening scene. It's only direct contact they're concerned with.
Yeah, I don't know if they're abandoning that piece of it from the game just because it may be a little bit clunky to write and like to actually perform. But like in the game, when there's spores detected, you'll put a mask on and like and stuff like that. But
maybe they will. But although I would assume that maybe they won't, considering when they find that guy in the train station, you would think there'd be spores there, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think they're not. And I think maybe Brian might have mentioned something to me about them not even pursuing that piece of it. I get it. Like it's just,
I understand too. It's just like if we're gonna start right off the beginning, it's like it's so hard unless you start with a patient's ear. Like one person gets infected somehow, and like if you heard a news report, there's a memorial held for the nurse who worked for 30 years who was unfortunately died because she was attacked by a patient who wasn't restrained properly. And it's like, okay, like that's how it started. It could work that way. And I know I'm nitpicking, but it was just like very early on, I was just like, it doesn't quite jive properly.
And not to give it like a pass on any of this stuff, but like in a similar vein as The Walking Dead, as the story progresses, another episode, maybe 2, it's going to very much become, it's not about that thing anymore. It's about what society becomes.
Of course, I know what it's actually about. Actually, so I've heard that that's like a whole thing. Is like there's actually not a ton of actual zombies from this point on, from what I understand. It's much more about the people.
Yeah, it's going to be about what's going on with people, the horrors that you're going to see out in the world, and in the moments where you think you might have a breath, there's also still this other threat that we have to be concerned about that, like, takes a back seat because of all this other ridiculous stuff that's going to happen. But anyway, back to the beginning of, as far as scenes that were like slightly altered, like they did a really great job with the getting in the truck and driving scene. Like some of the shots are one for one, like pulling up to the street sign and deciding which way to go. And like it's like in that scene in the game, you are playing as Sarah and you're able to look around in the backseat of the car as they're deciding where to go and whatnot. And the whole thing happens where the car gets hit, but it's in the game, you're hit by another car, and like they almost do that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. They're not doing that. They're going to do something else. And then they do the whole plane falling out of the sky thing. I was like, Jesus Christ! I was like, this is TV. Like,
yeah,
it's not TV though. It's HBO.
Wow.
Great. I feel like it was a great execution on like just before the time jump. I thought the performances up into like I thought they were fantastic. I feel like everybody was bringing.
Yeah.
And I was really happy with it.
We had a couple of random cameos already. Like I said, we had John Hannah in that one scene. And he's good in that scene. Yep. And then you had, what is it? Is it Brad Leland or whatever? I forgot. Did you watch Friday Night Lights, the show or the movie? Either one. No. He was in both, actually, playing the same but also different characters. The neighbor.
Okay.
He was like a pretty important character in the show. He played the father of one of the main characters. Well, okay. She was one of the main characters early on in the show, and he really runs throughout like the whole show because he's like the biggest booster of like the town, like of the school like team. So, I guess anytime you need a Texan character actor, you'll cast him. So
sure,
it was funny to see him. It was also a little weird to see him like he looks so old now. Like not that he ever looked young, but he had like graying hair to now like white hair, and that was a shock to me. But I don't know, there's just some weird random cameos already in this show. The whole intrigue where I was like trying to get my feet under me when they get started in the quarantine zone after the time jump, seeing like the fact that Joel, there is no Tommy, he's probably still grieving even though it's 20 years later the loss of his daughter. He has a new relationship, which actually, for whatever reason, was a little shocking to me. Like, not just that he had a relationship, but also, like, the nature of it was unexpected for whatever reason, considering I've spent about 12 minutes with this guy at this point.
With Tess, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll probably develop a little bit more, but I feel like it's more about just companionship and survival versus an actual.
No, that's fine. I'm not objecting. Yeah. I don't know why I was surprised to see him, like, in the middle of, like a pretty deep relationship at that point. It was so what little I already knew about the character, for some reason it shocked me. It probably shouldn't have. Like, I don't know why. 20 years is a long time for anyone. And we haven't heard anything at this point about what happened to his original wife, I guess. But
right.
Certainly there's indications. I'm sure the broken watch had something to do with it. But
yeah, I do love that. That was another game scene that they like almost a 1-for-1 shot, but like your watch is broken and the sigh. While he's laying on the couch, I was like,
"Yeah,
this is so good."
But beyond that, I was a little surprised how quickly they got into the Firefly thing. Because I knew that was a thing in the story, but I don't know why. I guess I assumed that would be a kind of a more down the line thing. Maybe you get a reference to it. I was surprised to see them just in the middle of this like insurgency and war. Like,
oh yeah,
to get that all kicked off so early in the story was a little surprising to me.
It's I mean, it's again, that's like another part that is 1-for-1. That's like exactly where like when you pick up the controller as Joel, like it starts the same way. Like it's moving pretty quickly.
Sure, but I guess with television where you have some time to unfold this sort of thing, I guess I assumed you want to spend more time developing what living here is like before you get to the fact that people want to change how that is.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not a criticism, it's just an observation.
Yeah, for sure. What did you think of Ellie? What was the name that she gave? The fake name? I don't remember.
I don't remember. She's annoying, but I'm sure she's supposed to be.
Yep.
I'm sure she'll be interesting.
She definitely she got the abrupt vulgarity down perfect, which is like ends up becoming like kind of an endearing quality of the character as the story goes on, especially as the relationship blossoms between her and Joel. So that was cool to me. I know that was one of the ones where I was like, the hardest thing you can do in an adaptation for this is cast. Like, how do you cast somebody, especially when like we're talking like mo-capped video game like where the character has a face that you already anticipate. The character has a voice that you anticipate because of the voice actor that played them. Meanwhile, they come out of the gate swinging. I find Pedro Pascal as Joel to be like immediately convincing to me, and like I love it. I was like, okay, cool. Let's see how is this going to play out with when him and Ellie come together, and him throwing her against the wall like immediately, and then standing on her and her cursing him out. I was like, oh, they got it. I don't know how they got it, but they got it. Like it all works.
Well, like, she's pretty inspired casting as well. I mean, she became kind of a fan favorite when she was first introduced in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And there are certain similarities and certain differences to this character, but I don't know. It was pretty inspired, I thought.
Yeah.
Although she has a wildly different voice in this than she did in that show.
I do think the voice is meant to, it's meant to evoke more of the character from the game to be a little bit closer.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And Joel's gruffness is definitely like, it's funny because if I understood, I feel like I read something or heard some interview where like Pedro Pascal was like not gonna play the game specifically to not try to do the character the way that somebody else already did it, which I can appreciate that take. But then to see him come out of the gate doing the character exactly as I expect the character to be is a real testament to the writing of the character, I feel like, because like they must have like whatever the character points are that he's going to go over, or reading through the story and understanding who this person is. Like it's a great adaptation, but it's also very close to the other performance, even if he wasn't intending for it to be.
It's cool that, was it Neil Druckmann? Is that who it is? Like,
yeah.
That he's the one who made the game and is also making the show. Note to people who want to do adaptations, maybe let the person who did the original thing stay pretty closely involved. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe it doesn't always have to be that closely involved, where the guy who made the one thing is also going to be the co-lead of the making of this thing, but like just sitting down with them for an hour one time is probably not enough involvement either. Maybe let them be an active part of the creative process.
Yes.
So that they can, really give you what actually was inspiring the work that was done the first time, to let you know what makes sense to cut and what doesn't, to be a sounding board, to be a sanity check, to be, your inspiration for what all of this. It doesn't have to be someone you go to like, hey mom, did I do good? But like that person should probably be pretty thoroughly involved with like the writing and creation of the thing.
Yeah, I could not agree more. It is cool to have, of all the characters, Marlene is Marlene from the game, which is really funny.
Was the same actress?
Same actress, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is pretty cool to have at least some direct connection.
Yeah.
So that's fun. I am so excited to see it unfold over the next however many weeks. It's going to be 8 weeks, maybe. I don't know. I think it's 9 episodes. Is that?
I'm actually not sure. I can take it real quick.
There's so much incredible stuff that's going to be happening, and I'm already so like, even down to the costumes. Like the costumes are like exactly the costumes. Like they're just like it just very much feels like the thing that I played and experienced turned real, which is kind of like, it's been a minute, so like kind of how you remember it is like almost like this realism to it, and it's really just wonderful. And I'm so excited for Sunday now.
It is 9 episodes.
Cool. Yeah, there's a man. I feel like they're probably going to make it so that every episode has a gut punch moment similar to Sarah.
That's going to be a tough act to follow.
You'd be surprised.
Well, sure, I guess.
In the whole flower rambling, I forgot that he didn't bring home a cake.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't know, when I was watching it, I guess it didn't really register for me how long that first episode was.
Yeah, it was like an hour and 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, because I think going forward, it's going to be pretty like standard hour-ish.
They're going to just tighten.
It makes sense for the story that they told. I mean, you basically need, it's almost probably a half an hour on the whole, what's ultimately the prologue, right?
Yeah, that's probably what it was, right? There is an hour episode with a tacked on prologue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. Oh, and to have the music, the OG music, like it's so good. That guitar is just so incredibly linked to those stories.
Yeah, that's something that's lost on me, obviously. So
sure, but it's great music. So
yeah,
I'm sure you'll appreciate it as it goes on.
Any objection to the music at all so far? So
any notes? Any further commentary before we?
No, I mean I found it interesting where they've chosen to to meet out where like the action is versus what they're going to show off screen. Like when they break into the Firefly headquarters, not realizing that's what it is, and everyone's dead, and it's like, oh, what happened here? Whereas, you see like that, like freaking ridiculous over the top action sequence during the prologue. So I'll be curious to see what the balancing of all that is going forward. Because I thought they shot the action well. It was pretty frenetic in that opening scene, but it's supposed to be. Watching the cameras flip around as they're trying to drive to and from, and they're going forward and reverse, and they're spinning here. Like that was pretty slick stuff. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely excited to see how they continue to evolve that going forward. So
for sure. Awesome. Well, tune in next week for the last word on The Last of Us. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Nailed it.